and welcome to another episode of Some of Our Parts, the podcast where two friends talk about the movies that add up to make us who we are. I'm Lindsay.
And I'm Jim. And Lindsay, what did you pick for us this week?
I picked a movie that I grew up watching with my dad. It was one that I did not appreciate at the time. I think because this is probably one that like little kids don't really get, but I have grown to love in my adulthood. It is Dirty Dancing from 1987.
Oh, great pick. So, and yeah, say from knowing how when you were born and stuff. So I'm sure you saw this in a rental
Yeah.
yeah.
This was a like every time it came on TV, my dad would stop so we could watch
So
it.
this was a pick that this is one of your dad's favorites then.
Yes,
And
yes,
and
this
then
is
now it's
my
grown
dad's
on you.
influence. Yes, there are a lot of movies that my dad made me watch over and over again. Some I have grown to love, such as this one. Some I still have animus towards, like Top Gun.
Okay.
But yeah, so Dirty Dancing is one I've grown to love. I sort of picked it, I guess, kind of because it's like Women's History Month.
Oh,
But
okay.
I like that it's, obviously the protagonist is a young woman. It's written by a woman, actually based on her experience, Eleanor Bergstein. And I think probably because of that, it feels very like, I don't know, just like authentic. I
Mhm.
think just like the relationships, like it doesn't feel like over dramatized. It just feels like kind of real, like the reactions and the interactions that people have. And I also think part of the reason why I enjoy the film, and people may feel differently about this than I do, but like there is like an abortion that's central to the plot. And I think that, and obviously this movie takes place, it came out in 1987, but it takes place in 1963. So this was a time before Roe versus Wade. We're not living in a time after Roe versus Wade. So it's a time when abortion was in many places still illegal, at the very least, very stigmatized. And it's I think it's handled in this movie very like sensitively and like gracefully. And I think that that is really like cool and important too. And something again that like obviously I didn't like understand or know as a kid because they don't like ever say abortion, right? But they like it's clear
Right.
what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And all I know is like this lady's sick when I'm a kid. I don't understand what's happening. But now that I am an adult and can watch it, I can really appreciate that part of the story. And also like the time, and we'll talk about it as we go through, but like watching it this time, the way that Dr. Houseman like is really incredibly sensitive and kind to Penny when he's caring for her after she has her like sort of botched back alley abortion. I thought was also really great. Like, because again, like this is 1963 and this is not a time when this is like allowed, but just like the way that they depicted him, like being so caring and like a good doctor towards her was really cool to see too.
I agree. I also think that in some of the aspects, other than that too, they touch a little bit about Vietnam and Indochina
Hmm.
and those things, that were starting to come, to the forefront of the news at the time. But I think that's all dealt with pretty, when you think the movie was set in 63, but it was made in 87, there were still, maybe some things that weren't really talked about openly or discussed
Hmm.
like, I'm like you, I feel that it was handled very very well. It was presented with dignity and there was no real over dramatization of the
Hmm.
issues and so on. But it seemed like the people, like we'll talk about it. The it came up in the day to day conversations.
Yeah.
And this is what baby's generation was dealing with. It
Hmm.
was
Hmm.
what's going to happen going forward
Yeah. Yeah. Because we weren't like in quote unquote, I'm using like air quotes, we weren't like in Vietnam for years after this.
officially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why the
So
quotes. We
yeah,
weren't officially
exactly.
in Vietnam for a little
Yeah.
while,
Oh yeah.
but
Yeah.
but yeah, I think it's interesting too that like the baby's family, the Housemans, are this sort of like progressive, pretty progressive, like New York Jewish family. But also, I think it's nice too that we explore some of their like blind spots, right? Like they're very privileged, and that narrows your worldview. And I
Mm-hmm.
appreciate that like she kind of sees some of that firsthand. She like calls out her father when she sees that and that kind of stuff, which I think is like a very common like coming of age thing, right? Like I think when you are getting to that age, like babies, I guess like 18, she's about to go off to college, and you start to see that like your parents are just like people with their own shortcomings, right? Because clearly, like looking at her dad, like she's like daddy's girl, like
Oh
her
yeah.
dad is like the best guy ever. Like she wants to find a man just like her dad. Then she's like, oh, you know what? Like there's some stuff you could work on, dad.
Yeah. That yeah, that she sees, later on in the movie during the story as it unfolds, like maybe he's come down a couple of pegs in her estimation, but still loves him,
Yeah.
regardless. And then
Hmm.
and I think it speaks to his character too, because you think at that time, like you said, privileged and well-to-do,
Hmm.
evidently, and but he did show a very caring and compassionate side that maybe you wouldn't have expected
Hmm.
from someone in that position.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. And no spoilers, but he admits when he's wrong,
hmm
which is good to see. Is good to
yeah,
see.
yeah.
Um,
It, there's nothing wrong with being wrong. It's when you don't own up to it.
exactly. Exactly. But yeah, I think it is interesting to see something that is like it's sort of the project of like entering into adulthood is like understanding your parents as humans with flaws. Like they're still your parents and you can still love them and think they're great. There's also they're not like these like perfect figures up on a pedestal the way you think of maybe when you're a kid. It's like, oh,
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
the there's things you
yeah.
could work on. We could do.
Right.
I have
Yeah,
notes.
yeah,
I
yeah,
love you, but I have notes.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think all of that is really great. Obviously the dancing is fun. Jim and I know that we've mentioned this before, big Dancing with the Stars fans. Not to blow up your spot, Jim, but Jim actually for a few period of some months was taking ballroom dancing lessons.
And I'll bring that up later on about how difficult it is to learn how to dance, people. This is it is
You
you
could
just don't go out there and
you
move
were
around.
relating to Baby during like that
Very
montage.
much so. Oh my goodness. I
Did
felt
you guys get to the lift in your dance class?
we did not. No,
Okay.
we did not do lists. We did do all the dances that they did. My wife and I, by the way, for those of you who don't know, I am married, so I wasn't just going and taking dance lessons so I could dance with other people. But anyway, yeah. So we learned the mambo and all the Latin dances and then the ballroom dances and so on. But it is a lot of work, and there's a lot the learning the steps and the moves and then the subtleties and then the
Hmm.
nuances to that. That's the other thing. First you learn the basic steps and then you learn, how to, move and so on and so forth. And then,
Hmm.
how it becomes smoother and so on. But yep.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Watching it now, I look and I think, damn, because
Yeah.
she was studying hard, so,
Hmm. Hmm.
but
Yeah. She was committed.
she was, yeah. She was pulling an all-nighter. So as we
Certainly, certainly. She was walking around all the time doing her steps.
you
I
start doing that. I hate to like when Denise and I would, like we would, practice in the living room and stuff.
yeah.
You sort of get to that, where you sort of like do 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 do.
I'm sure. I mean, I did like ballet classes for a while, like adult ballet classes, and I'm still like,
Yeah,
in first position, like pointing my toes as I'm walking around my house. Little pirouette while the microwave's going, that kind of stuff.
yeah. Or you hear a piece of music, I'm sure, or
Hmm.
something, and you just sort of, try to move to that, and or
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, or pose or hold your frame, and then
Hmm.
that was always a big thing about holding our frame.
Yes. No,
So.
I do practice sometimes. I think today when I was getting ready, I was like I had my arms out and I was like, oh, like elbow up, shoulder down, neck long, There's a lot
Yeah.
of pieces to it.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
you also have to like perform on top of that.
Yeah. Then you got to
Like get into
move.
the music and
Mm,
like,
mm,
sell it
yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah. And
So it's a lot. I think the other piece that stands out to me about this movie, the soundtrack. Just amazing, right? It takes place in 1963, and this is like I know this is kind of like your era of music,
Oh,
Jim, and like this is like my dad always loved like the sort of Motown and like that era.
this,
So I
yeah.
grew up hearing a lot of this music and I still love it. I think it's kind of like the peak of of music to me. I sort of wish that we had more. Like,
Oh,
where are all the girl groups?
it, that and to hear songs where you can understand the words and it tells us,
Hmm.
it tells you, it paints a picture, more or less to
Yeah.
me anyway. Yeah. So, but,
Yes.
or, and maybe that to some people it does sound trite and
Mhm.
maybe a little, bubble gummy or whatever you want to say. But I mean, I don't know, this just, yeah, this is, I grew up listening to this.
Yeah.
This was music
It's
of
just
my
like
generation.
it's catchy, like catchy songs, good singing, just like, the production is good. But I noted like a bunch of the songs throughout.
Oh, good, good.
So
So
we'll touch on them as we go throughout the movie. But yeah, there are like ones that like will be stuck in my head that I'll be singing. And I'm gonna be singing. This is what it always happens. I always have to sing the songs.
it's okay.
Just to
You
make
could,
sure, I want to make sure you guys know what songs I'm talking about.
exactly.
I'm putting you in the mood. Before we get into the movie, it's directed by Emil Ardolino, who also directed Sister Act with Whoopi Goldberg. He also directed Three Men and a Little Lady, the sequel to Three Men and a Baby. I've never seen that one, I don't think. I've seen Three Men and a Baby,
I've seen it
but
and
I've
we
never
we
seen.
we didn't need it. So I'm just saying.
Well, I will just say love to Emil Ardolino because I love this movie and I love Sister Act, even though I do kind of like Sister Act 2 a little bit better, but Sister Act still very, very good.
Hmm.
Um, as I mentioned, it's written by Eleanor Bergstein, who based this somewhat on her life, like her family kind of going to resorts in the Catskills and stuff. She's written some other things that I hadn't really heard of, things like It's My Turn, Let It Be Me. But I can't imagine that she like wrote anything that was as big as
Oh,
this.
I probably not.
But shout out to her because this is a great movie and I do think that like writing from her experience made it incredibly authentic. And
Yeah.
and I think there's like some good snappy dialogue, some like funny lines too
Hmm.
that are like, and again they're funny in a way like I'll mention some. I like wrote down some specifically, but like some of them I'm like, "Oh my God, that's like takes me back to being 18." It feels like I could like see myself saying that.
So, oh, okay.
Yeah, I think that's the other thing that I like about this movie. Like, I think that I relate to like Baby in some ways. Like, not
Oh, okay.
I'm not like a Jewish young woman in 1963 with like her dad as a doctor, but like I think the sort of like she sort of
You're
like
not?
strangely enough, no, but I think she's sort of like a little bit bookish and nerdy,
Yeah.
kind of a rule follower, but also kind of idealistic and like kind of wants to
And
save the world a little bit.
and very smart,
Yeah.
and very
Yeah.
caring. Yes. And
Yeah.
so and
So I
you
think
have a lot of those same qualities.
yeah, I think those things I feel like are I relate to. And also I think she's like kind of naive too. Because there are times when
Yeah.
like things are not going well and she says to Johnny, like, we'll just talk to them. And he's like, I can't just talk to them. But I think like that's sort of
Right.
how, I lived in my world and that was even though my world wasn't necessarily as privileged and like well-to-do as theirs, like I do still think I was probably like living, a little idealistic
Yeah. Well,
in that way. Which, isn't bad, but also it's like there is like a world beyond. But yeah, I think that's the other piece too that I do feel like I relate to like Baby, her personality kind of
okay.
in that way. And she always wants to like kind of fix things for people and like come up with a solution. And I do think sometimes that is my instinct. I am a social worker. So uh
Well, that I think that's where your caring comes in though too, and your compassion towards people. So
well, thank you. Thank you very much. So want to talk about the movie?
let's talk.
All
Let's
right.
let's let's dive into Dirty Dancing.
Woohoo. So it
Not
opens
not
with
Havana style.
no, not the Havana Nights one. We are talking specifically about Dirty Dancing 1987. All of the other versions, remakes, not our business. Do not
No,
exist in our mind.
exactly. So there's only one.
Exactly. So it opens, there's actually just like kind of like scenes of people dancing, and in the background they're playing Be My Baby by the Ronettes. Be my little baby. And
Ronnie
then,
Spector. So for those of
yes,
you who don't know, yeah.
the
So
late great recently departed Ronnie Spector, may she rest. Um, so then we see like a car driving, and they're playing in the radio. Then the song then switches to "Big Girls Don't Cry" by the Four Seasons. Big girls don't cry, and it's we get a little narration from Baby. She says it's the summer of '63. I love this line, when everybody called me baby and it didn't occur to me to mind. Um,
yeah, that yeah.
it's interesting too. You kind of immediately get a little sense of what the family's like. They arrive to this resort called Kellerman's. It's like in the Catskills, and it's clearly like sort of a place that like rich people go for several weeks in the summer to, get a little fresh air, get out of the city. Babies over here talking about like monks burning themselves in protest, because I think like the sister Lisa is like, oh my God, this is horrible, and then the dad's like, horrible, people are
Yeah.
starving in
Yeah,
Indochina,
yeah.
and she's like, horrible is like monks burning themselves in protest. So we get a very clear idea of like kind of what this family looks like her sister's crying about her shoes getting messed up or something,
Well, that
not
she
having it or
didn't
not having
bring the
enough
coral
shoes.
pair of shoes, and
Yeah,
like I think her mom said, "Oh, but you brought 10 pair." It's like, and
but I didn't bring that one.
didn't bring the coral ones,
Mm.
and I didn't get a sense of how old the older sister is, but a
Yeah.
few years older than baby, evidently.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
but there's like a world apart, from
Yes.
their existence.
They
So,
are very different. And you also get a sense immediately that baby is like daddy's girl.
oh yeah,
Because he's like, right, baby? They're like, they have
yep.
a rapport.
Hmm.
The Houseman family, it's Dr. Houseman. Jake Houseman is the dad. He's played by Jerry Orbach, who we have met before. He was Lumiere in Beauty and the Beast. I think people also know him as Lenny Briscoe from Law and Order. The mom's name is Marge. She is played by Kelly Bishop, who I think people these days might know. She's Emily Gilmore on Gilmore Girls, so she's like the grandma on Gilmore Girls.
Oh, see, I
Um,
didn't watch Gilmore Girls,
I
so,
didn't either, but
so
she's like,
okay.
if you ever see an episode of Gilmore Girls, she's one of the main characters. She was in the original cast of A Chorus Line on Broadway.
Oh gosh,
Um,
okay.
yeah, she was in An Unmarried Woman in the 70s. She was in Private Parts in
The
1987,
Howard
the
Stern
Howard
movie.
Stern movie. I think she must have played like his relative, maybe his mom or something,
Oh, I could
because
see that.
the on
Yeah.
the credits it said like something Stern was her name in the movie. So
Okay.
Baby Houseman, who's our main character, she's played by Jennifer Grey. I think this is her like most iconic movie, but she's also in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. She's Ferris Bueller's sister. She's in Red Dawn, which also stars another one of our stars in this movie who we'll meet later. She was also recently on in the movie that was nominated for an Oscar, A Real Pain, with Jesse Eisenberg and Kieran Culkin. That's the one that Kieran Culkin won
Oh, I
Best
didn't know
Supporting
that.
Actor for. So
I
she's
didn't know
in
she
that.
was in that. Okay.
Yes. She also won a season of Dancing with the Stars, which does feel appropriate that she should.
2010. I just got 2010. I looked it up.
There you
So
go. I mean, I feel like if you're the lead in Dirty Dancing and you go on Dancing with the Stars, like you
you
have to
better,
win.
you got to get the mirror ball trophy. Come on
Like
now.
if you don't win, then like you're such a letdown.
Well, either that or it was fixed.
Yes, yes. Her sister Lisa Houseman is played by Jane Brucker. She's done like some TV work, but I think it looks like this is kind of her main thing. So anyways, I don't know if this was like comped for them, or at the very least, they're kind of getting the hookup because the owner of the resort, Max Kellerman, Dr. Houseman, like saved his life
Yeah.
as his
And
doctor.
yeah,
So,
I kind of got the feeling this was all on the house, maybe,
yeah.
or yeah. So
At the
because
very least, they got some upgrades.
Yeah, or they, yeah, there was no extra charge involved for whatever,
Yeah.
whatever they wanted or something. So,
Hmm. They kind of jump right in. This is one of those places that just has like, it's just like nice, fancy, like kind of cabins near in the mountains, and you
yeah,
go do activities all the time. That's like pretty much what you do. Like they go to a merengue class that's led by the person that will come to know as Penny. It's funny, like baby ends up dancing with an old lady.
Well, and this is like right away when they first arrive. They don't even get to
Right.
check in their rooms. It's like, oh,
Let
we
me
got a merengue class
unpack.
in 20 minutes. It's like,
Right. Go to
dude.
merengue in the gazebo. Like,
And
I want
evidently
to
it's
change my
hotter than
clothes.
hell.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's like peak of summer, I guess.
Yeah.
We're like meeting, kind of getting the lay of the land a little bit. Like later,
Yeah.
baby's walking around at night, and Max Kellerman, who's the owner, is talking to the wait staff, who are people that he is, young men that he has recruited from like Ivy League schools, who are there to like, make the place kind of look good, and also like entertain the daughters, like even if they're like ugly. um
Even the dogs,
Even the
as he puts
dogs.
it. And maybe
And
to make connections on their own,
yeah,
maybe.
yeah,
Yeah,
like they're
sort of.
trying to, because this is sort of a resort of like some rich people, so like, talk to them, and you can see like Dr. Houseman is making connections with people who are like trying to go to med school and stuff like that, so like putting in good words, networking. And then that contrasts with the entertainment staff, who are sort of like looked down upon. They're kind of like the lower class people. Like, they're not people who have like gone to college. They're like poor, and like they're just like, just stay out of people's way, kind of like, you entertain them and like that's it.
They're sort of like, they reminded me of like how people would treat us as when we were caddies at a country club. My
Yeah.
brother and I would caddy, and it would be like, you're kind of seen but not heard. You're seen but
Yeah.
not heard. You don't speak. You're there to perform. A role, and then that's all you
Mhm.
do. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's what it kind of reminded me of. But
For sure. I think that's definitely the vibe. Later at dinner, we meet some more people kind of individually. So one of the waiters is named Robbie. He's going to Yale Medical School. Robbie is played by Max Canto, who was an actor and also became a journalist. He didn't really do anything else that I'd heard of, but he also died very young. He died at 32 of a heroin overdose.
oh, oh,
Yes. Sorry to break it down, but I was like, oh, he hasn't really been in anything. And it's like, oh, well, that's why.
yeah,
Um,
didn't make it.
and yeah. And then they also meet Neil, who is Max's like grandson, who goes to
Sorry.
Cornell.
Yeah, he's just that character is just.
He's such like a obnoxious little
Oh,
shit.
I
Like,
know it. You said it. I was going to say I wasn't going to.
I wrote down the line, and it's a little bit later, but there is a moment when he says, "I'm the catch of the county." And it's like, you're a little dweeb. What's
I
wrong with
know
you?
he's like short and oh, sorry. I'm not, but he's not, like your leading man kind of
It's fine. I
guy.
mean, he is short. There is like, he doesn't have, there's nothing about him that's like, ooh, what a catch. Besides him being rich. Like, that's all
Yeah,
you
besides
got.
being related to the owner of
He's
the
not
resort.
tall, he's not good looking, he doesn't seem to have a good personality. Like, what
He
do you
doesn't
have
seem to be
going for
very
you?
smart. Yeah, so
No, he's
I
actually a
know.
little bit rude.
Yeah, and a little obnoxious.
Yeah,
So
so it's like, what is going for you besides the name?
other than that, he's fine.
Yeah, like I think there is something when someone's like, "Well, what do you have?" and he says, "Two hotels."
Yeah.
Like, get out of here. Neil Kellerman is played by Lonnie Price. He's been in some other things. He was in Muppets Take Manhattan, but I think primarily a lot of his work was directing on Broadway. So a lot
Really?
of Broadway work directing.
Okay.
But yeah, he is in Cornell's like hospitality program, so he can take over
Yeah.
the hotels.
I guess he's gonna get the torch passed to him. So
Yes. Yes. So we get to see, while there's dinner, there's a little performance, and we see
dinner
uh
and a show, I guess.
dinner and a show. Yeah. Which I guess also is what happens when they go do the other show at the other place too.
I
I guess
know it's
that's
like,
must be like a thing.
I
All the
guess
hotels in the early 60s, you sit down to dinner and you also get to see some Latin dancing. Um,
some
but yeah,
tango, last tango in Paris. So
exactly. So, these are the dancers that we will come to know as Johnny and Penny. Johnny is Patrick Swayze. So this is the first time we've seen Patrick Swayze in the movie. He's kind of the other main lead. Patrick Swayze, we've talked about already. He was in Tu Wong Fu. Thanks for Everything, Julie Newmar. Other things. He was also in Red Dawn, as I mentioned, famously in Ghost,
yep.
Roadhouse. The Outsiders, Point Break. He's also in Donnie Darko. And he unfortunately died. God, it's probably been a little while now, probably like 10 or 15 years ago at this
Yeah,
point
because he
of
was in his 50s.
of pancreatic cancer.
So sad. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and I got to, I don't know how people feel about him. I always liked him as an actor. I always thought
Hmm.
he was funny. He was good in serious roles.
Hmm.
One of the standout things that always Saturday Night Live, Chippendale
Oh, the
Dancer with
Chippendales
Chris
with Chris
Farley.
Farley.
Oh my
Yes.
God.
Oh my God. Like I think that he's so funny in Tu Wong Fu. I appreciate this is what I appreciate about him. You have him doing like sort of more dramatic, like almost like chick flick roles like Ghost. Then you have like Tu Wong Fu. Then you have like Roadhouse and Point Break that are sort of like big buff man movies, you know? So
Well,
it's like
and Red Dawn, it's
and
like
Red Dawn
patriotic,
and
red, white, and
Outsiders, I think also
yeah,
falls into that too.
yeah, yeah. And he brings a little bit of that, I think, to this role. He's sort
Hmm.
of the leather jacket wearing kind
Yeah, a
of,
little bit of a greaser, but he also brings a little bit of the like ghost. And he's
hmm
like he's a dancer, right? So there is this like
yeah,
not like quote unquote like masculine
right.
side. So
Yeah,
I appreciate that range
I
in Patrick
agree.
Swayze.
Yeah, so yeah.
Because not all men can have that. So good for him for that. Penny, the female dancer with him, who is very tall and very thin and has perhaps the longest legs ever seen on a human, is played by Cynthia Rhodes, who I think also was a dancer. So
hmm
she was a dancer in Xanadu, the movie with Olivia Newton-John. She was also in Flashdance. She was in Staying Alive, which is the sequel to a movie we've talked about, Saturday Night Fever.
hmm
I think she was in something called Runaway. I think she was also in Pee-wee's Big
Big
Adventure.
Adventure. Oh,
Mhm.
okay. So,
So, but yeah, they're great dancers. They're amazing to watch. But immediately, like, and you can see as they're dancing, baby's like, oh my God, like this is she's like kind of transfixed, which also I feel like if they were dancing like that in front of me, I would look like that too. Meanwhile, Neil's like, the dancers.
uh,
These like
yeah.
low life, like he's just like talking crap about them while they're like doing something he could literally never do in his dreams.
And I'll interject a little bit. In part of our taking dance lessons, what we would get to do is watch the the teachers, the instructors, professionals dance. They would put on presentations, and then and it's like watching Dancing with the Stars, but you're like
Mhm.
5 feet away from them, and it
Yeah.
is fascinating to watch. How well they do. How
Hmm.
so it is. Yeah. So
They move
I can
like,
see
yeah,
why she's transfixed by that.
right. They move so fast, but like it's also so fluid and like they're doing spins and kicks and like their legs go up so high.
Well, and the strength and the core strength and
Hmm.
stuff that it takes to do, because as you learn, you sort of get the idea of what it takes to get to do what they do, and then but
Hmm.
do it for dancing a dance for 3 minutes solid. That's like a
It's a
workout.
long time, yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. I think dance is interesting to me and like I always think of this when I watch ballet, but it is like such a really interesting and difficult mix of being both like very delicate and also incredibly strong
Mhm.
at the same time. Like you are doing things that require a lot of strength, but like you can't make it look like you're using a lot of strength, right? Like it has to look
Agreed.
like
Yeah.
fluid and easy and nice. And that's like crazy hard.
Well, if you ever see professional, and Patrick Swayze was a
Hmm.
professional dancer, you
Hmm.
see his physique. I mean,
Hmm.
this guy's cut.
Yeah.
So, and then but people like Nureyev, all those professional ballet dancers and stuff. When you
Hmm.
look at them, I mean,
Barishnikov.
the musculature on those people,
Hmm.
those are professional athletes. People that
Yeah.
their body is toned and trained as any other athletes.
Right. Think of their verticals. Think of like
Oh,
ballet, like think of Mikhail Baryshnikov's like vertical.
vertical leap, yeah.
Because it's also like, but you have to look like you're just like boing, like
Yeah,
bouncing. You know what I mean? Like
or
you're flying.
you're flying
Yeah.
or floating, yeah. So I'd stack any of them against any NBA
I want to
person.
see. I want to see a like a male ballet dancer like at the combine. I need to see this.
Yeah,
Give me a side by side. I want to see their vertical.
right,
Because
yeah.
I bet also they could reach higher too
I,
because they have
and
like
I want
their
to see a tip
extension.
off. I want to see,
Yes.
let's jump ball,
Dunk. Yeah, oh my God. Little like Sisson.
I think we just
Um,
came up with a whole new sports
we
competition.
really did. We really did. Like instead of the Globetrotters, it's like a team of ballet dancers.
Hmm.
Um, anyways, Baby's trying to amuse herself. She's doing the game, she's doing the recreation, she's trying to hang with Neil, and she's very bored. But later, as she's walking around, she runs into Billy, who's also one of the entertainment staff. He's actually, we find out later, he's Johnny's cousin. Johnny got him the job there.
Yeah.
Billy is played by the actor Neil Jones. He's been in a lot of like small, small roles in film and television,
He looked familiar.
including, and I mean, he like looks, if you look at
Excuse me.
him now, like he's obviously aged a lot, but like you can still, the face is still there,
Yeah.
including on Criminal Minds, where he was on 2 episodes playing Dr. Carl Arnold, a family annihilator serial killer,
Ooh.
on the
Ooh.
episode called The Fox, and then there's also one called Outfoxed, where they have to like, there's another
Oh,
family annihilator, and they have to like seek his help to figure out like who it is.
shades
Um,
of Hannibal Lecter.
yes, because they think that like this person's like copycatting him, so they're
Yeah, there
like,
you go. Hmm.
who is doing this? So, but yeah, it's him because I was like, I know his face looks familiar, and then I looked and I was like, aha, Criminal Minds, of course. My like mental Rolodex of Criminal Minds episodes. In any case, she runs into Billy, and he's trying to carry like of the biggest watermelons I've ever seen.
Exactly. I almost thought they were props.
Is this?
It's
There were
like
so long, they're like
they look
3
like
feet long
torpedoes.
watermelons. I know.
Yeah.
You win a county fair.
Uh-huh.
Um, so he's trying to, and she helps him with one, and she's trying to go with him to like take it where he's going, and he's like, "Oh, you guess you're not allowed here." They're going
Right.
up to
Yeah.
this other little cabin, um, and he'd get in trouble if he brought her, but she's like, "Okay, well, I'm coming," and he's like, "Okay,
Yeah.
well, like you can't tell anybody. Basically, it's got to
Hmm.
keep it on the down low." So, they get in there, and we see some dirty dancing. These people are like grinding and like
Oh,
just
just yeah.
getting down.
And
They're just like
sweating.
rubbing crotches against each other, basically. To "Do You Love Me" by the Contours, which I think this is probably a song that everybody's heard. It's like, "Do you love me? Do you love me? Do you love me? Do you love me?
Now that
Now that I
I
can
can dance. Sorry, I didn't mean to
dance." No, it's
spoil it.
okay. We got it. We should have harmonized.
We should have. Yeah, sorry. Sorry.
And she is like so awkward.
Oh, because
She's just like,
she
she
doesn't
has
know
never
where to
seen
look.
this. Yeah,
Yeah,
like, oh
she's
my
like,
God.
yeah,
It's like she just got out of the convent and
and the
seeing
people are
this.
just looking at her like, whatever.
Okay,
It's
we're
like,
just dancing.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it may be more, but it's dancing.
Yeah,
They're
like
dancing.
they're just like, okay, we're just doing this. Johnny and Penny arrive, and like clearly they're like kind of the stars of this group. Everyone like
Yeah.
cheers when they arrive. And this is when Billy's like, "Oh, Johnny and like Penny are the best dancers here. Johnny's my cousin. He got me this job." And then Johnny comes over and he says, "What is she doing here?" This line.
Hmm.
This is when I was like, "Baby is me." She goes, uh, "I carried a watermelon." Just like incredibly literal,
Hmm.
awkward, does
Right.
not know what to say. I was just like, "Yes, I feel seen here." If I was in an awkward moment like that, so I was like, "What are you doing here?" Like, "I carried this here."
Yeah. I brought you a watermelon.
And then the best part is she says, "I carried a watermelon." And then immediately she's like, "I carried a watermelon. What am I saying?" Like
I
she's
know.
so embarrassed.
I love that she called herself out on it. It's like, like,
I
what? I'm
carried a
such an
watermelon?
idiot.
Like,
Exactly. It's like, I'm a doofus.
yeah. She eventually like kind of wants to get in on it. Johnny is trying to teach her how to dance, do this like kind of dirty dancing, and she is so awkward. She's like stiff as a board. She's not really getting like just watching her try to like move her hips in a circle is just hilarious. It's so awkward. She's like a robot.
It's hard. It's
It
tough. I
is
got to
hard, but
tell
it's
you.
just like it's just funny because it's just like I don't know. Like I would like to see her try to work a hula hoop.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of faith in her ability.
I did appreciate, and I wasn't sure, though, but Johnny was like, okay, it didn't come across as like trying to pick her up or
Yeah,
anything, but
yeah,
hey,
yeah.
hey, come on, I'll show you how to dance.
Yeah,
This is how this,
exactly.
because I'm a dancer, I'm a
Hmm.
teacher, so
And also he like clearly seems at this moment to see she's like this like weird child that's here and like,
yeah,
okay, if you're here, I guess I'll teach you how to dance. Like,
yeah. And at
oh,
this point, Lindsay and I had a discussion about this before we started broadcasting because I wasn't really sure at this point how old she was supposed to be, but I thought she was like 15 or 16, and I thought, because the way she looks and stuff, and I thought, well, this is a little
yeah.
perverted, but Lindsay then enlightened me, and no, 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 she's getting ready to go to college, so she's of age at least. So it's like,
Hmm.
so even though
Yeah.
she looks really young, so
Yes. I'm just gonna assume based on those clues that she's 18, so we don't have to feel weird about it.
right.
But yeah, and it's funny, as soon as that song ends, he leaves and she's just standing there in the middle of the dance floor, like,
Well, that's what it's like. Okay,
okay,
I had a dance with you, and I'm done. It's not
bye.
like, hey, baby, you want to go for a walk or whatever. It was like, nah, we danced, and I'll see you, or whatever.
Yeah. The next day, fun activities at this place, a wig show. Baby and Lisa are trying on wigs at the wig show.
Are
Um,
all the wigs blonde, by the way?
no, because Baby, they
Oh,
both have
that
brunette wigs on.
brunette wig.
Because
Okay.
Baby has that, it looks like she's Elizabeth Taylor and Cleopatra.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that maybe Lisa's supposed to be like a short, like Jackie O kind of thing, but it did not
Okay, is
look
that
good
what?
on her.
No,
But they're
no.
both brunette, I think. But there were, I think, like there was like a line of blondes, and then you get to Baby and Lisa. But Robbie comes by and he's like kind of being flirty with Lisa, and you
He's
can see
smarmy.
he's so smarmy. And but you can see, and like this is something that having watched it a bunch of times, you pick up on. But Penny is shooting daggers at him with her eyes. Penny is, if looks could kill, Robbie would
Oh
drop
yeah,
dead.
she is not a happy girl.
Yeah. And Penny and Johnny are kind of at the end of this table, and Baby's also just like mooning over Johnny, just like hard eyes at him,
Yeah.
like hardcore. And at the end, she goes over to Penny. Baby goes over to Penny and tells her how like beautiful of a dancer she is. And Penny's kind of like, well, I like got kicked out when I was 16 and like so I've been
Yeah.
dancing ever since to like try to make a living. And then Baby, this is an example of Baby just does not understand like the rest of the world because she's like, "Oh, I'm so envious." And Penny just looks at her like, "Okay," and just leaves. Like, Baby, you are a rich person here at this rich person resort. You're like, wow, I'm really envious of you having been put out of your home at 16 and having to dance to survive.
Right. And now my family is paid for me to be here or whatever, but you're,
Right.
you're busting your ass trying to make a couple of bucks so you could
Right.
live.
She's not dancing for fun.
Yeah, yeah. Or big money.
Exactly. Exactly. Baby and her parents again are like they're watching the dancing. You could also get this sense that some of these older women, the wives of these rich men, are trying to hook up with some of these young hot dancers, especially Johnny. This is also when Baby is talking to Neil and he's talking about how great he is and all that he has to offer and how he's the catch of the county. And Baby, you can tell, is just like struggling to not roll her eyes. Like, please just kill me. And then we see Lisa walking past with Robbie because Lisa had asked Baby, cover for me with
Yeah.
mommy and daddy
Mm-hmm.
because I'm going to the golf course with Robbie tonight, which, like, they were not going to play golf late at night. Um,
Really?
they did not have night golf at this resort, I don't think. But they kind of come sort of stomping by. She's sort of stomping away and she wants him to apologize and he's not going to. So obviously he was trying to round to another bit. He was trying to take another base that she was not trying to give him and he
Yeah.
will not apologize for it.
Was it me or did she look like she was limping a little bit or something? Or maybe
It's
I
like
was just
I think it might have been trying to walk in heels through
heels. Is that
the
what it was?
woods. Her
Okay.
heels were
So
probably sinking into the grass.
it
That's a
could have been,
problem
yeah. So
on soft ground. She's like, "You owe me an apology." And he's like, "Well, get used to not having one." And it's like the fact that she continued to pursue him after that, I'm like, "Lisa, girl, love yourself. What's wrong with you?"
1963. So,
He's such
she's,
an a-hole.
you know,
Presumably there were guys who weren't a-holes in 1963.
but
At least go for
they weren't going to medical school.
Right. I mean, go for Neil at least, but I guess she was tall. Neil was a little short for her.
Oh yeah, yeah, yep, yep.
So then Neil takes baby into the kitchen to get a snack. And while he's prattling away, as he does, because he has no awareness of anyone else, baby sees Penny. She's kind of like curled up in a little ball under the counter and just like crying and shaking, like just
Hmm.
sobbing, like
Yeah,
silently. And so baby, bless her, she's looking out for Penny. She's a girl's girl. She's like, you know what, Neil, I need to go check on my sister. So
yeah,
like, let's just
yeah,
go. So
yeah.
she gets Neil away, and then she goes to grab Billy and Johnny to be like, something's wrong with Penny. So they go, and Billy spills the beans that Penny is pregnant. Billy, really, this man has like no. Don't tell him a secret.
No filter. No, yeah. She's not pregnant. She's knocked up.
She's knocked up. Yes, yes.
Which would have been the correct vernacular for 1963.
Correct, correct. And it speaks to the context of the situation.
So yeah,
Because this was not, in fact, planned.
no.
And baby assumes that it's Johnny's. And he's like, oh, it has to be my baby, huh?
Hmm.
And she's like, oh, like, sorry. Which, like, I don't think it's like that.
The way
They
they
dance
danced
together
and
very
everything.
intimately. So, like,
Exactly.
I don't think it's like a crazy assumption that they're together.
It's not. Yeah, it wasn't a huge leap.
Right.
Yeah, to make. So
Yeah. So it's like, anyways. So they comfort Penny and they take her to her cabin, and basically there is a doctor who is coming through the nearest town who can give her an abortion, but they don't have enough money for it.
have abortion will travel.
Yes. And so it's like this like traveling doctor, you got to like kind of go in secret, like again, it's 1963, we don't have Roe versus Wade, it's a whole thing. They say that it's Robbie's.
Yeah.
And baby's like, "Oh, well like I know he has money." And they're like, "He's not going to help." I think she says, Penny says, baby, get out of here. You don't, she's basically like, you don't know anything. Go back to your playpen, is what she says to her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Baby wants to fix things, perhaps butting herself into a situation that she doesn't need to. But you know what? She's like,
I
something
can
is
help.
wrong. Let me figure out how to help. So her first step is she's going to talk to Robbie. She's helping him like fill up water glasses.
Which I think took a lot of guts.
Yeah.
That you don't even know this guy and you're going to call him out on.
Hey, you.
Yeah, by the way, you who can't keep your pants zipped.
Yeah. And he won't budge. That
Nope.
she's helping him like fill water glasses. And it is a little funny because she's just like sounds like she's just kind of dumbing. He's like, hey, like pour like gently, come on.
A
Like
little more precision.
a little
Yeah.
more
So,
precision, please. Yeah. He shows himself to be just a complete douchebag. He says the words, some people count and some people don't. And then he says, here's a book for you to read. I think you'll like it. And it's The Fountainhead by Ayn Rand. Which, like, if you know anything about Ayn Rand, first of all, Baby is not going to like that book. It's not a book for Baby.
you don't think?
I do not.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
and she basically is like, if you better stay away from Penny and you better stay away from my sister, or I will
Right.
have you fired. And then she pours the rest of her pitcher down his pants, like he deserves.
Right. So chill out. Yeah. Chill that
Yeah,
thing down.
exactly. Put it away.
It's right.
Um, so Baby's plan B is to go to her dad because she knows her dad will always help her. Like, and she's like, Dad, someone is in trouble and I need a loan. I know I usually tell you everything, but I cannot tell you this. But he's like, it's not illegal, is it? And she's like, no, it's not illegal. What?
Yeah.
And he's
And
like, okay.
well, because he goes, I really shouldn't have asked you that. So
Yeah.
it's because he know. Well,
Yes.
but I think a big thing of it. That was a big ask. Two hundred and fifty
Yeah.
dollars
In
in
1963?
1960.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I just know this from my dad bought a car in 1965 for $500. Now it wasn't a new car, but it was a car that ran.
Mm-hmm.
So you think about, I mean, she could have bought a half a car. So, or
Yeah.
or thereabouts.
Let me see. $250 in 1963 is $2,600 today. So imagine going to your dad and be like, "Dad, can I have $2,595?"
Yeah. Yeah, that's a substantial amount of money. So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yes, he's a doctor and everything, but I don't know about you. I wrote down kudos to Jerry, to
Yeah.
Dr. Houseman. Dr. Houseman says, "I'll have it for you by dinner."
Yes. He's great. He's great. And I mean, we run into some bumps soon, but I think the fact that he's just like, I know if my daughter is asking me this, then it's like a real need and it's like
Hmm.
something important.
Right.
And she's trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
She goes back to the little Dirty Dancing hut. They're now playing "Stay" by Maurice and the Zodiacs. I'm gonna have to go too high, so it might not pick up the sound.
Go
But
ahead. I'm
it's
ready. Go
like,
ahead.
why don't you stay just a little bit longer?
That's
There you go.
good. That's
Thank
good.
you. Thank you very much. She gives the money to Penny. And Penny seems kind of pleasantly surprised. Like she was like, I told you to like go away. I really did not think that you would like get the money. And
Yeah.
at first they're like, did Robbie give you? And she's like, oh no, Robbie, you were right about Robbie, but
Yeah.
like I went
He's an
another
asshole.
route.
Yeah.
I went another route. And Johnny's like, oh, you asked your daddy for money. And Penny's like, this is nice, but she's like, I can't take it because, and this is where like scheduling an abortion really sets this whole plot in motion. The only appointment is Thursday. On Thursdays, Penny and Johnny, they do their show at the Sheldrake Hotel. And if they miss it, they'll lose the money for the whole summer. So obviously they just like can't do it. And Baby's like, "Well, there has to be something that we can do. Can't somebody fill in?" And Johnny's like, "All these people have jobs, Baby. You wouldn't know anything about that.
Baby is
Jobs."
the eternal optimist, though, don't you
She
think?
really
She's
is.
really trying to see the glass as half full.
She's like, "There's nothing that can't be fixed."
That's right. Yeah.
And I can fix it.
That's right. I can
She's
get you
like
a voucher.
she's like Bob the Builder. Then Billy and Penny are both kind of like, "Well, why doesn't Baby fill in?" And Baby and Johnny are both like, "Oh, what? No, no,
Yeah,
no."
because Baby says I can't even do the merengue.
Yeah. But eventually they're like, "Okay, well, this is the best option that we have, so Baby's filling in." Because I think they also know that like Penny's like, "Baby, will you fill in?" Because she does. They know that she wants to help. So, they could convince
Oh
her.
yeah, yeah.
She is struggling as Johnny's trying to teach her. Like even from the beginning, he's like, "Step on the two. Stop stepping on the one. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, and you step on the two."
It's
Um,
I still count in my head now, though. I don't count out loud. So
yeah.
I do, but I count.
She's like walking around the resort practicing on her own. Some more good music. They're playing Wipeout. Oh, Wipeout. It's interesting too. This I love you. You see like their feet a lot, and he's in his like ballroom dancing shoes, and she's always in her Keds.
Yeah.
Even
Uh-huh.
like later, I'm like, at some point, she doesn't practice in the actual dancing shoes until like way like right before the thing.
Way too late into the
I was
performance.
gonna
Just
say, I
you
was
got
like, she needs to get used to these shoes. Stop letting her practice in Keds.
so, and Lindsay maybe can attest, but I can. So when it came to a point early on, we had to get dancing shoes in order to continue to progress. So,
Hmm.
and it is different.
Yeah.
There's a lot of difference in wearing dancing shoes as opposed to regular shoes.
Hmm.
So,
But I also guess that he wanted her to maybe to practice being on her toes
yeah.
instead of just relying on the shoe. But again, like she should have practiced in the shoes much earlier.
Hmm.
Um, And then I do also really love there's some like outfits. I also have like short curly hair. So sometimes I do imagine up like this is Baby is like my outfit inspiration. Like she's wearing like a sort of like pinkish like bodysuit with jean shorts and her Keds. And I'm like, I really like that outfit. I'm gonna wear that when I go on vacation this summer. Um,
Up to
but
the
yeah,
Catskills.
yes, exactly. Me and my family are going on vacation, not to the Catskills though. We get like there's a lot of montage of him teaching her to dance. She is making some progress, but he's like very hard on her. This is when
But
he's like, this is my dance space and that is your dance space. You stay in your dance space. And you're like, keep your arms up, keep your frame. Like,
lock your frame,
yes.
head up, shoulders down. It's like, oh
Hmm.
yeah. So yeah,
Yes.
I
On
could
your
relate.
toes.
Uh-huh.
They're
Yeah.
playing Hungry Eyes now. Hungry Eyes. I don't know all the words to that one. But
Eric Carmen, isn't it? Isn't that Eric Carmen?
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Which
Uh
was not a 1960s song, but I think it
I was
was a
gonna say that sounds like an 80s
it's
song.
an 80s song. Yeah. So
We
yeah.
had to throw some in. And we get at least one more because we get the Patrick Swayze song that he sang. That's not a 60s song, obviously. She's
Well,
like the wind.
that and the time of my life that was written for the
Yeah,
movie. So
yeah.
yeah, with
But
Jennifer
yeah,
Warren. Yeah.
lots more dancing. She's the leotards practicing with Penny, like they're like working in some of like the flair of it,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
she's starting to get
And
the
that's where
steps, and you have to add like the sort of like articulating
exactly
your arms and like your hands, and
the
the sort of,
subtleties. So
yeah, the part that makes it like cool to look at and not
yeah.
just like executing steps.
Exactly. So right.
Um
So James has his hand up. Jim
yes.
has. At this point, I was sitting there thinking, does her parents not think, where in the hell is my daughter? Where and why is she never here? It's like she's got to be spending all this time, doing this, and they're like,
Yeah.
oh, where's baby? Oh, I don't know. I haven't seen her for like 50 hours, so
Yeah,
you
they're
know,
probably like, "Oh, good, she's like doing all the activities.
maybe I guess so. Anyway, so that was just my side note. I
She
wrote
must
down,
be at bingo."
did they not miss her, miss baby?
Yeah. Because, like, at one point she's leaving, it's raining, and they're like, "Where are you going?" And she's like, "There's charades in the lobby." And
Yeah,
she
it's
got.
like, and off she goes. So
Mhm.
anyway, so
I guess when you, especially when you didn't have like phones, it's easy for your kids to just like disappear.
disappear.
What's the thing that's like, it's 9 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
Yeah, yeah,
No,
that's
the Housemans are like, no.
no, yeah, because she's there all the time.
Yeah.
So
You
anyway,
can also see too that she's like trying to like look good for Johnny. Like she's like putting on makeup and like getting ready, and
yeah,
then he's like shirtless in their practice. So I'm sure she's like, huh. But yeah, they're making progress, but they're still snipping at each other.
oh yeah, yeah.
They have not like sort of gelled into a partnership. And eventually he's like, okay, let's get out of here. So they go out. I think it's raining
It's
at that point.
raining. Mm-hmm.
And he locked his keys in his car. So he has to use like a little post to bust out like the little back window to get in the car. But then they drive to the woods where it is no longer raining. And
Thank God.
yeah, this would have been dangerous if it was raining.
I was getting ready
Um
because the next scene.
yes, because then it's time to practice balance, and he's on like sort of like a fallen log like over a little gorge, like a fallen tree. So it's like,
Hmm.
like the
Yeah,
balance beam.
right.
And he's saying that like balance is really important for lifts because the lift is like the big piece they haven't mastered, and they weren't really able to get it in the studio where they were
Yeah,
practicing. So they sort of practice their dance on a log, and it's Hey Baby by Bruce Channel. Is that who it is?
I th- um I think. Do
Hey
do do.
baby, I wanna know, would you be my
I'm a
girl?
girl. Also, in this scene, they sort of pull back on the shot. I don't think that's Jennifer Grey on Dancing on the Log.
Yeah, I that wouldn't be surprising.
I don't know, just it didn't look like her. It looked like
Mhm.
Patrick Swayze maybe, but anyway. So I was going to ask you, maybe look at it later on and then tell
Yeah,
me
I
what you
didn't
think.
notice, but I would have to look
I kind
again.
of
But
thought maybe that's a dance double, or a stunt double. So
could be. Then they go to a field. They're trying to practice the lift in a field. It's the iconic lift that we all know from this movie.
yes,
And then he's like, a really good place to practice is the water. So then they actually get it in the water, but then he's like, hold it, hold it, hold it. And she doesn't hold it, and they tip
they.
over into the water. Then Penny's helping Baby like kind of get her costume ready for the dance.
Hmm.
And as they're going in, this is a little Chekhov's gun for you. They bump into an old lady, and she drops her purse. And in her purse is a bunch of wallets. And they help her pick them all up. Like, oh, Mrs. Schumacher, here you go.
Mhm.
Sorry. So just pin in that, folks. Pin in that. But then as Penny's helping Baby like kind of get in this dress and like pin it and stuff, she's like, I just want to let you know, like, I don't this part too, it was just like so like sad and heartbreaking and felt very like real. When Penny's like, I just like I want to make sure you know I don't like sleep around. Like
Yeah.
I thought that me and Robbie were really gonna like have something for real. And I wrote that I hate that she has to do this.
That she has
I
to
hate
say
that,
that.
yeah, that she
Yeah,
feels
to
like she has to
justify
like
that.
justify it. And it's like, no, Robbie is the villain here. It's not you, Penny. Robbie, like we been knew that Robbie sucks. We know it's not you, Penny, but it's like I felt so bad for her that she had to do that. Because like of course a guy, you know, how it is. A guy could go, he's sleeping with every woman in this resort and he's fine. But like
Hmm.
one woman sleeps with one guy and she gets pregnant and it's like
She's a tramp.
she's a tramp. Her like life is fully disrupted. Like,
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, yeah, yeah. She's no
um,
good. It was her fault. But
yeah.
I'm, by the way, folks, that's not how I feel. I'm just saying that's,
Right, right. Absolutely. But she's really scared too
oh,
about
gosh.
like
Yeah.
having this
Sure.
abortion and Baby is like it's gonna be okay. Baby's like not that I don't think she's I don't find her to be that great at reassuring her, but she's trying. Because
Yeah.
when she was like, I just want you to know I don't sleep around, and Baby's just like, okay.
Yeah.
She
All
wasn't like
right.
super reassuring. But when she's scared, Baby does like kind of she is more
Yeah.
reassuring
She comforts her. Yeah.
when
So,
Penny says she's really scared. And she's like, it's gonna be okay, like everything's gonna be fine. The day arrives. It's Thursday, and it's time for Baby to go do the dance. She asks her sister Lisa to cover for her so she can go do the dance. So I guess that's their. They don't seem to like get along very well, but they will cover for each other with their
hmm,
parents, I guess.
yeah.
And I imagine I would have to guess it's probably usually Lisa asking Baby to cover for her and
I'm
not as
sure.
much the other way around. Because it did seem like Lisa was like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Where are you going to go? Where are you going to be?
She's like, oh, you're gonna go play bingo?
Yeah, so it's like, oh, you're gonna sneak out and read a book. So,
Yeah, right. So they go to the Sheldrake, they're on stage, like the lights come on, and Baby looks like deer in headlights.
I was just gonna say this deer in the headlights look, and her hair looks all nice. She's got
She's got a
makeup
little
on.
French twist. She's got this like nice little flowy halter dress on.
She's got her dancing shoes on, her little
Yes.
little dance heels, and
Mm-hmm. She's and like she starts out, she's a little stiff starting out. She's very awkward,
hmm,
but I think she
hmm,
gets into it. She does pretty well. She does mess up a few times. Like you can hear him going like, "You turned the wrong way."
right.
But like as the audience like wouldn't know that she messed up. And then when it's time for the lift, she just bails out and starts doing the like
Yeah.
little Brady Bunch thumbs. Like, but on the way back, she's changing in the back seat of Johnny's car, and he's like, "You did really well." He's actually like nice to her for the first
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like, and she talks about, oh, I didn't do the lift and stuff. He says, you did. He goes, after the first or second turn or whatever, he goes, you got it. And
Hmm.
when she chickened out on the lift and he took her and he said, just keep moving.
Hmm.
I was going to say, we wrote down, that's one of the things the instructors would tell us. Like, even
Hmm.
if you did a wrong move, you
Hmm.
don't stop. You just keep moving
Yes,
because nobody knows.
exactly. The show
No,
must go
the
on.
show must go on. You don't stop. You just keep dancing. You just,
Yes.
yeah. So
That's
anyway.
what they always say too on like Dancing with the Stars. They're
Hmm.
don't I don't want to see on your face that you messed up.
That you messed
Like
up, right? Exactly.
don't let me know that
Yeah,
you messed up.
yeah. You
Just keep
planned
going.
that. Yeah, you
Hmm.
planned that. So yeah, so it was like,
Exactly.
so.
But yeah, like I wrote progress. Like they're making progress in their
Hmm.
relationship. They're on a little bit of a high, but then they get back to Kellerman's and comes crashing down because Billy's like, "You got to come see Penny." And she is like essentially this was like a back alley. This was not a real doctor who did her abortion.
Evidently not.
Had like a folding table and a dirty knife. And
Yeah.
she's like in shock. Like not
Oh,
emotionally, but like
physically, yeah.
medically,
You could see her
physically.
like, yeah,
She's shaking, she's sweating, she's pale. She's no color to her.
well, paler.
Paler. She was I mean she's a white blonde woman. And they couldn't call an ambulance or the hospital because then they would call the police. Again, abortion illegal. Sounds like living in Texas today. Not just Texas, many states. This is like, I thought, that's what I thought when I watched it this time. Like, this is
Hmm.
life for many people, right?
Yeah.
Something goes wrong, even if you can get
Hmm.
an abortion, right? You're having a miscarriage. Well, you might get the cops called on you
Yeah.
today. So, whatever. However, people listening to this feel about abortion, that is simply a fact of the laws that exist in this country today. You can be happy about it. I'm not, but that part made me think like that is the calculus that a lot of people have, or that's the decision tree that a lot of people are dealing with today. So
Yep.
thankfully, baby knows a doctor. She goes to get her dad. He is very sweet to Penny. Like he immediately, it's just like no questions, no judgment, just jumps right in.
Have a question.
Hmm.
I know he's a doctor, but he brought his bag on
I did
vacation.
think about that too. I did think
just,
about that.
just
I can
saying,
imagine he maybe just like I
just
guess
in
he just brings
case.
that bag with him just in case. Because
Probably.
maybe
Okay.
he's
So
like, maybe he was like, if something happens to like my kids or something,
that,
I
okay.
want to have
Okay.
what I
But I
need.
just thought, boy, that was convenient.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I think too, like maybe now a doctor could just like write a prescription and go to like the local CVS, but like in
Oh yeah, but oh
1963,
yeah,
you
back
had to
then,
carry
yeah.
your own
Mm,
stuff with you.
exactly. So yeah,
So
so
I
but
think
and I just thought that was, kind of,
I
oh,
had that
that's
same thought. I was like, why
okay.
are you bringing work on vacation? But I was like, I
Yeah.
guess,
And it was
you don't have the option of like just run into CVS at that time. So
yeah.
maybe he
It,
thought better to be prepared than not.
and I did like the interaction too, like you said. She didn't even say like anything hardly. Just he said, "Is it your sister?" No, and but he went with her. Just
Hmm.
again, there's that bond between him and baby.
Yeah, yeah. And I think like he immediately like he has good bedside manner
Oh
with
gosh.
Penny. Does not care for Johnny. In fact, disgusted with Johnny. Johnny
Oh.
has nothing to do with this, but he looks at Johnny like he is the scum on the bottom of his shoe. Because he also says like, who's responsible for this girl?
Mhm.
And Johnny says, I am. And so he's like, oh, you did this, is like how he interprets that.
That's what I was going to say. With Johnny, yeah, it was miscommunication to me. It
Hmm.
was like Johnny's responsible for it, but not responsible for her predicament. So,
Right. He
yeah,
like takes care, he looks out for her.
right, exactly. Yeah,
He's like the next of kin, basically, is what Johnny was trying to say. But
yeah,
the way that Dr. Houseman is like, oh, you did this to her.
exactly. Yeah, this
And he
yeah.
like won't even shake his hand when he's
Excuse
leaving,
me.
and then he takes baby away, and he's very disappointed with baby, which
Oh
has to
yeah,
be like the worst for her.
yeah.
He says, "You are not who I thought you were," which is like, ooh.
Oh, I know. Oh, I know.
That's
Yeah.
like that parent, like I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed, and it's like, oh
Oh, that's
God,
like that's a.
dagger.
I'd rather you be mad. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. I'd rather you just be so angry you
Oof.
blow up. But
I
yeah,
can't imagine one of my parents saying to me, "You're not who I thought you were." I would like just
that that
like
or
turn
just
into
say I'm
dust.
disappointed in you. It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
to say that. So
Yeah. Cause yeah, you're not who I thought you were. That's like a level above disappointed. That's like,
oh
I think you're a bad person,
yeah,
basically. Like,
or yeah, or my opinion of you just went way
right.
down.
Like I
Yeah,
used to trust you and now I don't. Like,
right, exactly. Yeah. So
and he doesn't want her to be around those people again. Don't be around those people ever again. And he
yeah,
tells her to take off makeup, but I'm like, okay, Lisa and your wife wear a bunch of makeup. So like,
yeah. I was
why
gonna
can't
say
she?
wife. Yeah, Mrs. Houseman is
She's got a full face. Lisa is always Lisa's got like her boob. She's wearing like things that show off her boobs, and she's got makeup on. So like, leave baby alone about the makeup, okay? Like, chill.
I
That
was
was
gonna
just my
say
thought.
Lisa does eat like during. Well, we'll get into that,
It's
but
like, but also it does honestly like until this point when he doesn't like baby anymore. It doesn't seem like he gives much of a shit about Lisa. I'm just saying.
yeah,
He's like my kids, baby, and
yeah, yeah.
what's
What's your yeah?
tell me? Can
Is
you remind me of
Linda?
her?
Is it Linda?
Lucy?
Lucy? Yeah. Layla?
Yeah. Louis?
I know it's got an L.
Later, of course, baby immediately like ignores this instruction to stay away from these
Oh
people.
yeah, yeah.
She's
That
like,
went nowhere.
well, my dad hates me, so I guess I might as well do what I want now. So she goes to Johnny's cabin. She's also like concerned. She wants to know how Penny is. Like,
Yeah.
she wants to talk to him. She also wants to apologize to him. It is funny. Like his cabin is like he has this sort of big solo cabin at the top of the hill, but it is very shitty.
Oh
So it's
God.
like he
It,
has some privacy and some space, but it's like it looks like it's like not like someone's not supposed to be living there.
I wrote it looked like my fraternity house in college,
Yeah.
and not the rooms where the guys lived. It looked like the party basement,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
like oh, this is where we have our parties at. So
Yeah. She's like, "Oh no, this is
no,
nice."
it's
Um
not.
but
He has this little
she
tiny bed.
I know. How does he fit in that
I
bed?
know. It's like a kid's bed.
Right.
So
But then there's also times when they're both laying in bed and it looks like they're in a bigger bed. So that I'm confused about.
yeah, you're exactly right. I was sitting there thinking the same thing. It's like, wait a
Does
minute,
he have
is he
two
but
beds?
does he have two
Does he
beds?
have a Murphy bed?
Was there another bedroom to the mansion we didn't
Right.
know about? So
Um, but she apologizes to him about how her dad like spoke to him and treated him. Because that wasn't cool. Her dad was like
yeah, he was
shitty to him.
judgmental and yeah, and
Yeah.
shitty. Yeah.
And he says, and this is so sad, he's like, people treat me like I'm nothing because I am nothing. And I was like, oh my God, that's horrible. And then
Yeah.
baby responds with, no, you're everything. Which like is corny, but also like again, rewinding myself to 18.
Yeah.
I could
Really?
that's like a you're a teenager, right? Everything is like so like dramatic. You know what I
Dramatic.
mean?
Yeah.
Everything. She like has a crush on this dude and she's like, "This is the love of my life. You're everything." So like
Greatest thing since sliced bread.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I was like, "Okay, I could see it." It's like to 34-year-old me, I'm like, "Girl." But like if I rewinded myself to an 18-year-old, I'm like, I could
You would have been
see.
right there. Yeah.
Yeah, no. You're everything. I do think mostly it's not corny. I think mostly it does
No.
feel pretty sincere. And he actually is like really nice to her. They kind of are both like sort of gushing about each other and he's like she's sort of talking down on herself for being like naive and thinking she could fix everything and he's like, "No, that's like great. You look at the world and like you can make it better."
Hmm.
And like she's like, "I just run to get my dad." And he's like, "That was really brave to like go get your dad. Like you risked something." And like obviously the thing she risked like that happened.
Right.
Like it was brave to go get your dad. And she's like, "I'm not brave. I'm scared of everything. I'm scared." And she starts like listing everything she's scared of. And this is also a little bit of a corny line, when she's like, "Mostly I'm scared of leaving this room and never feeling the way that I feel when I'm with you." Then they dance. And then obviously this dance is moving towards something more than dance. Don't you feel like don't you feel like crying? Is that what it was?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Excuse me.
It's like, don't you feel like crying? So yeah, they're taking off shirts, getting all touchy feely and
Yeah.
stuff,
They're
and they have sex. And then the next day, the Housemans are.
okay.
You
You
don't
just
see it, but
you
that's the
just sort of ran
implication.
through that. Yeah. So yeah. So and
Well,
it
so
is.
did the movie. We
Yeah.
didn't we
Well,
didn't
that's
see it.
true. Well,
The
it was
implication is
it was the fade away. So it was
yes.
like at least they didn't show like skyrockets going on and stuff.
Right.
So
The implication is that they have sex. The next
y-
morning, the Housemans are having breakfast together, and Dr. Houseman is like, we're going home tomorrow."
yeah, boy is
And
yeah is boy. There's a mood at that table, isn't there? It's like
uh-huh.
everybody's like
And it's funny because it's so funny when like there's tension and like the mom and Lisa are like, "What?
what the hell? Yeah, like who
What is
pissed in your
happening here?"
cornflakes?
And they're like, "There's a big show at the end of this, like the summer." And they're like, "Well, Lisa's
The
like, I'm
talent
performing in the talent
show.
show. We can't leave." And then he's
I'm
like,
singing, Daddy.
"Yes, I was gonna sing a song."
Yeah.
And the mom's like, "Oh, well, I want to see the show." And then eventually he like looks at baby and then he's like, "Okay, it was just an idea. We can stay."
Yeah. but yeah, he was like, nah, we're getting the hell out. We're leaving before the traffic, and then like
Yeah.
typical dad stuff,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you know. So
Baby visits Penny, who is doing well. She like gushes to Baby about how like great her dad is and how nice he's been to her and like how good of care. Also, it's like the next day and she's like right as so she must have like been in the early stages of an infection and like
I get ready to say,
the wonders of
Jesus,
penicillin, I guess.
she she looks like she took the waters at Lourdes or something. It's like it's all of a sudden it's
Jesus himself.
oh, it's the I
Jesus
saw the
healing
Virgin
Lazarus.
Mary. She even looks like she put on weight. I mean, it's
Right.
like sorry.
Johnny comes in and Penny can tell
Oh
the
yeah.
tension between
Mm,
Johnny and
and
Baby.
she knows.
Yes, they don't even say anything. They don't have,
No.
they're just like, oh, hey, hey. And
Yeah.
then Baby leaves, and Penny immediately to Johnny is like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You said we never mess with guests. What are you doing? But Baby's waiting outside, and Johnny comes out, and like, he smiles at her, and she smiles back at him. So that it's kind of like, we're good.
Oh my God, I know.
Doesn't have
It's
to be
like
awkward, but again, it is that like sort of like teenage, like early adulthood, like, oh, we're so in love. Just like making goo goo eyes at each other.
but you and I talked about this, so we don't know how old Johnny's supposed to be. So, but I mean,
Yes.
it's like this is like his, I mean, maybe 22, 23. I don't know,
Yeah.
but it's like, dude, you know, come on,
Yeah. Baby is kind of constantly like sneaking out to
Oh
see
God,
Johnny and like
again,
sleep with him.
I guess nobody cares where baby is.
Nope.
you know,
Again, continuing with the good soundtrack, we're hearing Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow, the version by the Shirelles.
yeah.
She's also then asking like Johnny, he's like, "Oh, have you slept with a lot of women?" And he's like, what?" But basically he
Yeah.
says
What's
like,
your number?
right. And it's like, girl, you're gonna hurt your own feelings.
Exactly.
Um,
Yeah. Don't
but
ask questions you
essentially,
don't want to know the answers to.
right, he is kind of going into like all these rich women like kind of wanting him. Like when he started working there, he was like, "Oh my God, all these rich women want me." And it is again like sort of sad. He's like, he thought that they were interested like in him. And Baby's like, "Oh, you were using them?" And he's like, "No, they were using me."
Yeah. It was
Like there's all these just like, yeah, these like rich women, and you can see some of them. They're married to some like kind of like older
schlubs.
dude who is
Yeah.
like not attractive, and they're like, "Oh, a young hot guy. I'll cheat on my husband with you.
You're
Have a
right.
little
Yeah.
fun."
Hmm.
So he's just like kind of a toy for them. To learn,
Distraction.
yes, exactly. Like it's almost like he is on part of like the activities of the resort.
Oh well.
He's on the list of
Yeah.
the amenities.
I'll have some of that, and I'll have one of those,
Yes, exactly. I will
yeah,
do dance lessons, bingo, and Johnny Castle.
yeah, exactly in that order.
Exactly. We also learn here that Baby's real name is Frances. She's named after Frances Perkins, the first woman in the cabinet, who was a social worker. By the way, happy Social Work
Oh,
Month.
oh.
Later, in back in their room, because Baby does at times go back to her room, her sister Lisa says that she wants to go all the way with Robbie, and Baby is like, "Lisa,
Really? Yeah,
sister,
yeah.
do
Girlfriend.
not, do not do that." And he's bad. And Lisa's like, "You don't care. You just are upset that you're not daddy's little girl anymore, that he likes me now, and you're just trying to like sabotage my happiness." That's sad. 'Cause Baby actually like, she's like, "No, I
Yeah.
know."
Although, don't you think it's a little hypocritical though, baby, to sit there and go, no, 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 don't sleep with him, even though I'm sleeping with Johnny.
Well, Johnny's not a piece of shit jerk like Robbie is.
Well, I kind of thought he was at first when I thought baby was only 16 years old, but now I guess she's
Yes.
18. So okay, because I
Yeah.
wrote Johnny's a pig.
Yes. But he also like does care about her as a human being.
Yes, okay, I'll
And
grant you that.
Robbie will get you pregnant and leave you out to dry.
That's true. Yeah,
And Robbie is sleeping with multiple people.
evidently.
We know of at least like three. So this is always a fun scene. This is one of the scenes I always think of with this movie is Baby and Johnny sort of flirting and they're dancing to that "Come here, lover boy."
Hmm. Hmm.
How do you call your lover boy? It's called Love is Strange by Mickey and Sylvia. But they're in there flirting and dancing. Yes.
Sorry.
Oh, baby. But then like Neil comes in, Neil Kellerman, so they have to pretend they're just doing a lesson. Like
Yeah.
1, 2, cha cha cha, cha 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 cha. They snap into formation very quickly though, so
Oh
good on
yeah,
them.
and baby's like looking in the mirror like she's practicing her
Yes.
moves,
And
and
he's like
stuff.
critiquing her.
Yeah, yeah. No, no, no. You have to, do this.
Yes, keep your frame up. And Neil wants to talk to Johnny about the final dance of the season, which like Johnny always does with the entertainment staff. And he's like, I want to do something new. And Johnny's like, oh my God, I have so many ideas. Here's what we could do. He starts like doing some moves, and
Yeah,
Neil's like, no, no. You should just do a pachanga instead of a mambo.
right. Yeah,
And Johnny's like, oh, okay. Yeah, okay,
yeah,
we can do that. And then he leaves, and Baby's like, and also as he leaves, he's like, make sure you get the whole 30 minutes that you paid for. And it's like, Neil, go some, like, be gone.
really.
We don't need you here.
Yeah.
Baby's like, why don't you stand up to him?
Excuse
And
me.
Johnny's like, because I need this job
Yeah,
and he'll fire me. She's like, I want you to like stand up for yourself and like speak out or whatever. And it's his other option is like being a house painter. Like he can
yeah,
join like the family business, the local union of like house painters and plaster workers.
yeah.
And it's like
Oh boy.
he doesn't have the wealth of options that Baby does. And it's interesting, right? Because then they see Dr. Houseman walking by with Lisa and Robbie, and she like ducks and pulls Johnny down. And he's like, "Oh, okay. So you want me to like stand up and like fight for things?" And like, what was that?
Right.
Because you're not standing up for me and for us.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, like I'll tell my dad, but just like not right now, and like it's not the right time. And he's like, you're never gonna tell your family, like you're never going to. And he storms away. And later she goes to Penny's. She's like, do you know where Johnny is? And Penny just opens the
I
door
know.
because
It's
he's in
I think
there.
that's funny. It's like, yeah, there he is. He's right here. Yeah.
Yep.
Like Penny's not gonna hide, hide him. So dude, you're in this. So
Hmm.
you gotta face up.
Yeah. And he's not really interested in talking to her. But then Robbie sees her and Johnny coming out of Penny's together.
Uh-huh.
And he managed to insult Baby and Penny like
And
at the same
Lisa.
time.
And
Yeah,
Lisa.
he's insults all of them like in one fell swoop. He's like, "Oh, I picked the wrong sister.
Yeah, uh-huh. And
Thanks
and
for
that
taking care of my little problem or whatever."
right. And oh, that's okay, baby. I went slumming too.
Yes, yes, that's what he says. And Johnny just like beats him up. He's like, "No, this is the end. I
Well,
can't with this
he
anymore."
goes into Dalton mode.
Yes, exactly. It's Roadhouse.
It's Roadhouse, exactly. Yeah, so
Or he's Derry. Was he Derry in The Outsiders? The oldest brother. I think
yeah, he was. Uh-huh.
it's
Yeah.
Derry, Soda Pop, and then
Pop
Pony Boy.
Pony Boy.
Um,
Yep. Ooh, good. So
I read the book like in college. It's been a while, but
high school.
and then him and Baby like hug afterwards. That was like all it
I
took
know,
to
yeah.
like for them to make up. And then they're getting ready for the talent show. Lisa is practicing her hula song, and her
Oh my
voice is like
God.
nails on a chalkboard. Hula,
Oh.
hula, hula. Hey. Baby's painting sets. Johnny's like collecting music.
Can I just, if I was staying in a resort and I was paying there, I would not be painting sets,
Right.
it'd be like, no, I'm not helping out with putting on the show, dude. I'm going to
I
watch the show. I'm just
know.
saying, but but
I
that's just
know.
me.
Maybe it's the arts and crafts activity for the day.
It may
They're like, you
be,
want to do arts and crafts?
and
We're
and
gonna kill
and
two birds with one stone here.
and maybe I'm just ignorant like that, but it's be like, no, I don't think so. So,
Yeah, no, I agree. But she just wants to like make Goo Goo eyes at Johnny.
oh well, that's true. So,
There's a rich lady that's like hitting on Johnny, and her husband basically pays him to quote unquote entertain her
mm-hmm.
for the evening while he plays poker, and he's like, no, actually, I have like he basically says like he doesn't have time. He has like another lesson scheduled.
Right, yeah.
And you can see Baby's like, yeah.
And you can also see the wife going, oh. you know.
Yes, she's not happy. So then that night, Lisa is trying to follow up on her plan to sleep with Robbie. And she walks up to his cabin because I guess all this is like the sort of staff cabins. First of all, she misses what to me is a sign that something's happening, which is that there's a washcloth draped
On
on his door handle.
right, which we all know
Yes. I mean, I always heard like a sock, but like if there's something on the door handle, that's a signal.
ours was a tie
Okay.
in the fraternity house.
Okay. Well, I think, you know, it is generally known that if something is draped on the door handle, that's like a don't come in here
Don't
sign.
disturb sign. Exactly.
To be fair, also he did not lock the door. I don't know if the cabins had locks, but
I
like
was going
it
to say maybe they didn't have locks. Our
yeah.
our doors didn't have locks on in the
Yeah.
fraternity house, so
So maybe.
in case of fire. So
So Lisa opens the door. Lisa's she doesn't know the sign. And he's in there with that rich lady that Johnny rejected. She went to
yeah,
she moved sort of down the ladder.
I guess so. Well, down the ladder as far as looks and physique and stuff, but maybe up socially. I don't know.
Yeah, up money wise, down personality wise.
Yeah,
Yeah, so she's like, "Oh, she's upset even though
mortified.
she's like, "Oh my God, how dare you?" Baby did try to tell her. She just didn't want to believe baby. But
No,
baby was being honest. And meanwhile, baby and Johnny are cuddling in his little shitty cabin in the big bed, not the little bed, the big bed
right,
that
right.
is unclear where this is. Um,
I guess he pulls it out for company.
maybe. But it's sweet. They're cuddling, and he said he had a dream that like basically her dad accepted him. I'm like,
Yeah,
oh, Johnny.
I know. It's so sad.
Um, but then baby leaves Johnny's, and the rich lady sees her.
Uh-huh.
And she's pissed, the rich
Oh,
lady. She
oh
does not
yeah,
look
yeah.
happy about
Oh
this.
no, 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 no. Well,
She's like,
you
oh,
know,
you won't sleep with me, but you'll sleep with her.
her,
Is like the
yeah.
vibe, is the energy she's giving off.
Exactly. Yeah. You
So
could
shout
have
out to
had
that actress. She just gave a look, but we were getting the whole thing. Um,
exactly.
so then the next day or whatever, they're having lunch, the Housemans and also the Kellermans, because you know they're the VIPs, the Housemans. You
Mm,
save the owner's life, you're sitting at the big table,
that's right.
and they're like, the Kellermans are talking about like, wow, I learned one of my staff members is a thief, and they think it's Johnny because the rich lady put his name out there
Right.
for
That.
vengeance. She's
Yeah.
bitter.
That it was her husband's wallet was lifted.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yes. And she's like, oh, well, Johnny was talking to him,
Right.
and Johnny doesn't have an alibi because we, as the audience, know that's time he was with Baby, and he's not trying to blow up Baby's spot
Right.
because he's a solid dude.
He's not going to come out and
He's
say,
not going to throw
"Well,
her under
I
the
was
bus.
naked with her, so
Yeah.
yeah, so that's my out."
um, and Baby's like,
And she
but
knows it couldn't
I,
have been him
right,
because
because she was with him. She was like,
with him.
but I know he didn't do it. And they're like, based on what? And she's like, I just know that he didn't do it. And they're like, okay, but that's like not an alibi. Like that's not.
Right. Yeah. You're not
And
helping.
she's like, Dad, will you back me up? And he's like, what are you talking about? She's like, I can't tell you, but will you just back me up? And he's like, well, no. He
Yeah.
doesn't say no, but he just kind of like turns
Yeah. Just
away.
sort of.
And eventually she's like, she also says it was the Schumachers, the old
Yeah.
lady. Like she's like, I saw her. She had like a million wallets.
In
It was them. And
her
they're like,
big purse.
yes, and because they said there was also a theft at the Sheldrake. And they were like, that's how we know it's Johnny, because Johnny also works at the Sheldrake. And Baby's like, no, they were there. Because that's
Because
what
we saw
something,
them at the dinner
yes.
show. Right.
That's part of the reason why Baby looked so deer in the headlights at the beginning of their performance, because they saw someone they've recognized from their hotel
Right.
and they were worried about getting caught. So she's like, I know the Schumachers were at the Sheldrake also. So they could have also done the robbery at the
But
Sheldrake.
she can't say that because she shouldn't have been at the shelter.
Yes. And
This is like
finally
Agatha
she's like,
Christie.
Right. And then there were none.
And then there
Um,
were none.
and Max is gonna fire Johnny, and then finally Baby's like, okay, I know because I was with him. That's how I know he didn't do it. He was with
Yeah,
me. And Dr. Houseman is pissed.
not
He's
happy.
very unhappy with her. Then we see him, he's out at the gazebo just sitting, looking at the water, stewing. And she goes out to talk to him. She apologizes to him for lying. I love this. So she's like, this part I think felt very like sincere and like real and like real emotions. She's like, I'm so sorry for lying to you. Like, I don't want to disappoint you, but like, you're a liar too. Because you told me that everybody is equal, but you did not mean everybody. You meant people like you.
Mhm.
And this is like, I know that I'm like changing and I'm different than like what you knew before, but like, this is a part of me. And if you love me, then you have to love all parts of me, including this. And she basically concludes with like, I'm sorry that I let you down, but you let me down too. Which I thought was like really powerful. And he
It
doesn't say
was.
anything.
Well, but you do see him. He's upset,
He's
and he not
yes.
upset because he I think he realizes what she says is
He's taking
right.
it in.
Yeah, yeah. He's listening to her. He's not just like
Yeah, he doesn't like argue back. He doesn't like get defensive.
no,
He's just
no.
like listening to her.
And I even wrote that I thought this scene was a very well acted out scene between
Mhm.
two good actors, one at the very beginning of their career and one, probably, in their golden years of their career.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
because
Yeah,
Jerry's a classic.
for sure. I do think it was really well because like Jennifer Grey, like she's like kind of like crying throughout it, but it's like one of those things that's like you could tell that Baby like had to really like build herself up to say all of this. Because
Hmm.
that's a lot to like say to your dad, right? Like I was saying before, it is like, you know what? Like you're not perfect. Like you hold your dad up as like she even said at the beginning, like, I wanted to find like a guy like my dad. Like I never thought I'd
Hmm.
find a guy like my dad. He's sort of the pinnacle. He's on the pedestal for her. And it's like, you know what? Like you fall short in some ways too, dad. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
and I think that probably sucks for her to like know and also for him to hear. And so I think it is just like a really good like I don't know, it feels like a real family like confrontation.
yeah. And if they can get past that, then help their relationship be even stronger. So
Exactly. Exactly. That they can both make mistakes and that they both can see that there's like other sides to each other,
right.
but they still love each other at the end of the
Mhm.
day.
Yeah.
So then Baby goes to Johnny's room. She's asleep in the little bed now.
I know. I was going to say in the little bed, like
In
it's
the
like
little bed,
like
not
the
the big
trundle
bed.
bed.
Where's the big bed? Is that in a different room? Like,
I don't know.
um, I need a map. Uh,
Yeah.
but he's happy because the authorities found the Schumachers. They were wanted in multiple states for robbery. So they've been
Yeah.
they've been pilfering wallets in like I think he said like Florida and like Arizona. So they've been bouncing to resort towns all over the country, stealing
Exactly.
wallets from people. But Johnny is fired anyway because he slept with Baby. And she
Right.
feels really bad. She feels like she's like, well, I did all that for nothing then. Like if you still don't get to keep your job. But for him, it's very meaningful because no one's ever like stood up for him before.
Right. Or
Like,
sacrificed anything for him.
yeah.
Where she gave up, she fessed up and then, lost, some sort of respect from her dad
Hmm.
and everybody else that, that may have said, oh, that's Dr. Houseman's daughter. She wouldn't do that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So she like sort of sacrificed her reputation for not the result that she wanted, which is like
Right.
I imagine hard for her because she's like, I fix things. Like that's what I
Yeah.
do.
Uh-huh.
And they like
Yeah.
work out, which like to some extent is part of her privilege, right? That things work out. Like things don't work out for everybody. Things work out for you, at least partially. Like it's partially because of her, but also like you're like a pretty rich girl with like a dad who's a doctor. So like things kind of work out for you because you're in a good position for things
Right.
to work
Yeah.
out for you.
Because you're a pretty rich girl of a rich doctor. So,
Right. But yeah, he like it's really meaningful for Johnny because like I think like he was saying earlier, like he said people treat him like he's nothing because he's nothing. But now like someone is treating him like he's worth standing up for, worth sacrificing for. And she's like, It's funny because it's almost like they reverse. Like he was very like pessimistic and she was very optimistic, and now they're kind
Ye-
of reversed a little bit. Because she's
Yeah.
like, "You were right. You can't win no matter what," and he's like, "No, but like you can.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're standing up for what you believe in and like making changes and helping people and like all this stuff." So Johnny tries to go talk to Dr. Houseman before he leaves, just to kind of set the record straight. But Dr. Houseman, I think he still thinks that
He
he
got
like
Penny in
he got Penny
trouble.
pregnant and like sent her to get that abortion. And so he's like, you did all that and then you're trying to come after my daughter. So he's like, he wants nothing to do with him. And Johnny's like, I think Johnny says like you would think that about
Yeah.
me.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you would think that. Then Baby and Johnny are saying goodbye and it's sad, but they're both kind of like they're like smiling but sad kind of is the
Yeah.
vibe.
Kind of bittersweet.
Yeah, we're hearing She's Like the Wind performed
Mm-hmm.
by Patrick Swayze himself.
Mm.
She's
Mm.
like the wind. I'll just keep up singing all the songs.
That's fine.
Um, and then it's funny to me because it's like about to be the final show, and Baby is so sad that even her sister's being nice to her.
I know. It's like
I was
she's
like, oh my God, she must be like, this is like peak level sadness. Even her sister's like, oh, um, I'll do your hair for
hair.
you.
You look beautiful. Yeah. It's like, oh God, do I have cancer?
Right. And she died. Baby's this like her make a wish.
Yeah.
Um, I also do think that Lisa is eating crow a little bit
Yeah.
because Baby did try to warn her about Robbie.
And she realized that baby was
Baby
right.
was correct and was looking out for her. So I do
Exactly.
think she
She
feels like
wasn't
she
just trying to rain on
right.
her parade.
Yeah, exactly. So then it's time for the final show, which opens with a first of all, incredibly long. The Kellerman song. This is Bohemian Rhapsody.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's like, yeah, this
10
is,
verses.
yeah, you could go to the bathroom a couple of times on this one,
And still going. They
Yeah.
have a Kellerman and the band director Tito have a whole conversation and the song's still not done because then they come join it.
Yeah,
But
because Max comes and sings the last,
yes.
chorus or whatever.
At
So,
Kellerman's we come together. Na, 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 na. Lisa gets a verse. Sounds bad.
oh,
Whether rain or shine, laughing, joking, playing music.
that's actually better than how she sings it. So I'm just saying.
I'm like
So
on pitch.
yeah, you are. Yeah.
She's like
So
very nasally. She's
yeah,
incredibly nasally. It's bad. Um, and then it's also funny. It's just like so blatant. The dancers are like all in the back of the
yeah,
room.
like
They're like relegated to the back, the riffraff back there, standing room only.
right. Uh-huh. They don't even get to come into the main room,
Yeah,
or
they don't get seats.
no, no, God
Um,
forbid.
and Robbie comes by and Dr. Houseman gives him a check to
Is it
help
a
with medical
check? Oh, okay.
or a
I
recommend
could.
maybe it's a letter of recommendation. He
That's
gives him an
what I didn't.
envelope.
I didn't know what it was. Yeah, I didn't
I
know if it
couldn't
was like
tell.
a
Yeah.
letter. Maybe it was a check. Yeah.
I don't know.
So
I always thought it was a check, but now that I think about it, it might have just been a letter of recommendation or something.
I don't
Whatever.
know.
He gives him something, which also, now that I think about it, if I'm so maybe this is just me. If my dad was about to help somebody who dogged me out like he just did to Lisa,
Hmm.
if I was Lisa, I would have gone to my dad and been like, "Do you know what he did?
Right. Yeah.
Dad,
Dad. Yeah.
Robbie sucks. Don't help him with anything." And if I was baby, I would have said, "Do you know he thinks some people count, some people don't? Dad, you think that's a good doctor?" So, but that's
Plus,
just
Dad, he
me.
didn't even know how to do it without getting a girl pregnant.
Exactly. He hasn't even heard of condoms. But then they didn't even have to do that because Robbie is so up his own ass. He just his mouth is running and he talks himself out of it because he's like, thanks for helping with the Penny situation.
Yeah,
And
it's
Dr.
like what?
Houseman's like, what?
That was you?
And he's like, oh, I thought baby told you.
Yeah, and he
See,
goes,
baby didn't
"Well,
even have to tell him.
it might have been me. I wasn't sure, and it's
And
like,
he just he just snatches back that envelope. He's like, give me that. Get out of here.
you bum."
And it's interesting. This other part too, I like hadn't really noticed it before, and I don't know what the point of it is. But like Max Kellerman, when he's talking to Tito before he comes and sings, he's talking about like it feels like it's all ending. And I'm like, what does that mean? Like,
I
are they
sort of got
closing?
it. I
Is
got
the
the
implication that like the updated like music and dancing is gonna save the resort? Like that was how I read it.
I read it like that actually that this time in America was coming to an end when the innocence and stuff, and then like
Mm,
this idea of kids coming to summer vacation with their parents,
yeah.
that was all going away. Oh no, they want to go to Europe. They want to
Yeah.
travel. They want to go abroad, and if you think about it, in 1963, I mean, it started to change. There was the civil rights movement, the war in
Yeah.
Vietnam, the
This is
attitude of
where we
America,
started like a rash of big assassinations, right? Like
big
Kennedy.
assassinations, and then
And then
the
you have
war,
like,
and then
yeah.
you have just and the generation where it wasn't innocence, and
Hmm.
to me at least
Yeah.
you know
Yeah, that makes
plus
sense.
I blame it all on the Beatles, so just saying. So
Maybe it's both too, because
maybe I'm
later he
just
says to Tito, because when they're doing like the updated dance music and stuff, he's like, "Oh, do you have sheet music for this?"
yeah, it's
So it's
like
like he's like, "Oh, maybe we can sort of modernize the resort a little bit,
yeah,
like make
yeah,
people want to still come." So maybe I think it's probably like a
yeah.
Eleanor. She knew what she was doing. She's
Yeah,
like she's multi layers here. Eleanor. She's
I
like,
agree. There is a lot more to the story than I think than on face value, at least to
hmm,
me. There's yeah, so it is sort of maybe the change of America's values and
yeah,
America's morality and so on and so
hmm,
forth, and
for
so
sure, yeah, because I think like you're saying, like coming out of the 50s, there is this sort of like post-war like doing well economically, baby boom, like leave it to
yeah,
beaver kind of thing, and then the 60s there's a lot of turmoil and turbulence and change and like the issues of the country being laid bare
yeah,
in a way that
racism, drug use,
mhm,
the war, that was a big
war,
part, the war in Vietnam.
political violence, like
Yep, the
I mean seeing
assassinations.
like JFK shot in the head on TV, like that had to be jarring.
Yeah, yeah, and then a few days later to see his assassin killed live on
Hmm.
TV. Because
Yeah.
I still remember that vividly, watching Jack Ruby kill Lee Harvey Oswald as
Hmm.
they're escorting him out of the courthouse,
Yeah.
out of the jail. So
Yeah. So yeah, I think that was just a line that like stood out to me because I was like,
yeah,
it wasn't something that I'd paid attention to before. I'm like, oh, I wonder what that means here. And then Johnny comes in and he goes to the Housemans and he says an iconic line.
you do it.
For context, they're sitting near like against their little tables against the wall and like a pillar. Nobody puts baby in a corner because she is literally like sitting in a corner.
She's up against the wall. Yeah.
Yeah. And he pulls her up on stage in the middle of the song. The Kellerman song is still happening. It's been 40 years and they're still singing the Kellerman
We're
song.
on verse 277.
It has more verses than like the national anthem. Like
Yeah,
Jesus
there's
Christ.
6 stanzas and an
And now the
epilogue.
remix at
Yeah, exactly.
Kellerman's.
Yeah.
One more time. I did also write he gets up on stage in the middle of the song. It really was too long. So I'm sure everyone in the audience was like, what's happening? But also like, thank God.
Exactly. Yeah.
And he says, every year I do the last dance of the season, and like I'm doing I'm here to do that. And he talks about baby and how great she is, and like she's amazing. And I love Dr. Houseman starts to get up, like he's gonna go pull her off the stage, and the mom is like, sit down, Jake.
I love that. Yeah. Like for the first time she really uses her voice and
Yes.
like just yeah, park it.
Hmm. Also, I will say here too, this is another thing where I think it was hypocritical when he told baby to. Mom has got a full face of makeup. She's got a strapless dress on, but baby can't wear makeup. Leave the girl alone.
It's his baby. Just
Still.
saying. I'm
Also,
just
I have to say, I don't think my dad would know if I had makeup on.
well,
I don't think he would be able to like call it out.
So you never went through that phase? Because I can remember my older sister when she first started wanting to wear makeup, and that was a big deal in the house. So,
Um, I guess when I started wearing makeup, I didn't live with my dad. My parents had divorced at that point, so like my
but
dad
but
didn't see me that much, but my mom didn't care.
no, okay,
No.
because my mom even said something to my sister. I remember at one
Yeah.
point, but when I think my sister was like 15,
Yeah,
or
I think I probably didn't until I was like 16 or 17, and I would
yeah.
also bring it to school and put it on at school.
Oh, would
Um,
you? So,
Not to like be sneaky, but because I was usually running late. And so I would do it in first period.
okay, just curious.
Especially like senior year, I had a virtual class for first period. So the teacher couldn't see me. So
Oh,
I
okay.
would just put
So,
makeup on. I just
gotcha.
wore like, I wore more makeup in high school than I do now. But I think that's probably common. But yeah, no, I think my parents like didn't care. I didn't
That's
wear
funny.
that
So did I.
much. I mean, it was that time.
It was the
Um,
70s,
yeah.
David Bowie, baby.
Did you go to school with a full lightning bolt on your face?
Went to school dressed like made up like Kiss one time.
Ooh, that's
Yeah.
fun.
Uh-huh. Yeah. That took some doing.
That's fun. But anyways, it's the sort of iconic moment in Dirty Dancing. The
Oh.
song plays. The time of my life. I've had the time of my life. Which I think now you always hear on like cruise commercials or
Mm-hmm.
like Sandals Resort.
Right. But it's got that
Also,
really good rhythm beat to it.
it does. Did
Mm-hmm.
you notice she came to this in her dancing shoes?
I did. I wrote that down. I thought, oh, gee, how fortunate that baby wore her dancing shoes to
That's
the.
exactly what I wrote. Glad she's in her dancing shoes. And they do
Yes.
the dance that they did before. She's much better. She's definitely a lot looser. Obviously, I think they have a little bit more trust and rapport between them, obviously. So
Well,
I
they've
do
been
love,
rehearsing a few other things too, so
yeah.
just
Um,
saying.
I also love the mom here. She's like, I think she gets this from me.
I, I know it's like really.
What are you talking about? Oh my God, and this part is like so silly and dramatic. He like jumps off the stage, but it's like slow motion.
Oh, I know.
And then he sort of does that like dancing strut all the way down the aisle back to where the other dancers are. Then they turn around and like they come as a unit
Yeah,
to
they're all.
dance. I wrote, they all know the choreo.
Yeah,
They
that's
just
what
know.
they. Well, Johnny's such a good lead. Come on,
Yes. I was gonna say maybe he had already put this
planned
together
and right, and
before he
this
was
was
fired because it is him who plans the end of the year dance. So
right.
I was like,
So
this could be plausible that they literally do know the choreo because he would have
exactly
taught
that
them.
that he was going to do this. So
Yeah.
and maybe it was
So
going to be Penny up there instead of Baby.
instead of baby, yeah.
So
But anyways, she jumps down and comes running at him, and what do they do but the lift?
and it's
And
perfect.
it's perfect. It's like, and again, I think this is like the shot
Oh, oh
that you
yeah.
think of. If you think of an
It's
image of this movie, you
it's
think
the
of this
iconic.
image.
Yeah, yeah.
Patrick Swayze holding up Jennifer Grey. She's got her arms out. She's
Hmm.
like perfectly holding it. And I think this is like obviously replicated in various other pop culture.
Oh my
Like I
God.
think of the movie Crazy Stupid Love with Ryan
Oh
Gosling and Emma Stone, and they like go to back to his house, and he's like, "I do this thing," and she's like, "What do you do?" And he's like, I can do the Dirty Dancing lift," and she's like, "Nah, no, you can't." And then they do it, and she's like, "Oh my God!" But then everybody's joining in. They all get up to dance, even the old people.
I like the old lady that like throws off her mink stole or
Yeah, she
whatever,
like looks
and
at her
then
friend, and
starts
then she's
starts
like,
just like
"Boom!"
yeah, boogieing, and
Yeah, it's like,
Jack Weston is like what? It's like
yeah. She and her friend like make eye contact, and then they're like, "Well, we're in. Here
yeah,
we
it's like
go."
at first you thought maybe she's going to get up to leave because she was disgusted, but she's like,
Hmm.
oh, let's party,
When in Rome. And
yeah.
then, you see Penny talking to Dr. Houseman, and
Oh, and
then
he kisses him on the cheek and hugs him, and
yes.
because
I love
he's
it. He like saved her life. The mom is dancing with Neil Kellerman.
oh
Like
God, I know,
she um and then Dr. Houseman comes up to Johnny and Baby and he says, when I'm wrong, I admit that I'm wrong.
right.
And then he says to Baby, like, you looked great up there, Baby.
Yeah, I like that instead of like so he said he paid her a compliment and stuff, and
Hmm.
then sort of like you
Yeah.
said maybe didn't well he said when I'm sorry I'll tell you I'm sorry, and
Hmm.
you know I was wrong. So
Yeah, so he admits it, which is really nice, and not everybody would do. And then everybody's like enjoying the music and Dirty Dancing, and this is when Max Kellerman says to Tito, he's like, "Do you have sheet music for this?" So
yeah,
it's like there is this sense that maybe like this we're doing a little more modern music and dancing, and that might revive things a little bit here
exactly.
too.
Yeah, bring the younger crowd in and get them more
Yes.
interested in coming out and spending
Yes.
spending their hard earned cash at Kellerman's.
Yes, exactly. And I think we did not mention Max Kellerman, who owns the place, is played by Jack Weston, as you just said. And he was in a lot of movies, The Four Seasons, The Ritz, the original Thomas Crown Affair.
Crown Affair. He was one of the robbers and stuff.
Hmm.
He's just such a good character actor, or was,
Hmm.
and just you know, and he could be funny, he could be dramatic. You know, he just had sort of that kind of face, you know, that every guy kind of face. So
Hmm. The other person that we failed to mention, we talked about it before, but I don't think we've said it since we started recording. The staff member at the resort who's always announcing everything that's happening is a very familiar face if you like existed in the 90s. It's Wayne Knight, who you probably know from one of two things. You either know him as Newman from Seinfeld, Newman, or as I don't remember the character's name, but he's the guy in the beginning of Jurassic Park who's smuggling the samples out in the shaving cream, and the dinosaur with like the big fan kills him.
yeah, he's the IT computer guy, the
Yes,
yeah
yes.
who booby traps the system, so you know
Hmm. And
it
then
gives him
it
time
comes up
to,
with like his face when
yeah,
like
you
ha
know,
ha 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 ha.
yeah, you know, you
Yeah.
know, and then
But
locks the
you'll
system.
remember him with that dinosaur with the like the big fan neck fan like fans out and kills
Love
him.
that because it like it yeah in his Jeep, you know, and it goes,
Yes.
you know, and then you see the blood running down. That's
Yeah.
good scene. Yeah, but
He's
yeah,
the first death in Jurassic Park.
Jurassic Park.
Um
Yeah,
so yeah, it's good cast. But yeah, I think it's just like such a fun movie. It makes me happy. It feels like it's like sort of like in some ways, like a kind of coming of age, like teen romance thing, but it
oh,
also does feel like a
I
little
think
more
it's a
significant than that in some
I think it's a
ways.
perfect description of it. Yeah, coming of age, maybe not only for baby, but also for America or
Yeah, I
for
do
that
think
generation.
like you said, there is a sort of like larger sort of like allegorical, metaphorical like thing there, right? That like
I don't know, just
no, I think that makes sense though, because she says at the beginning in her opening thing, like she talks about herself, like the summer everybody called me baby, but she was like, it's before Kennedy was assassinated, it's before the Beatles came, it's before she was like naming all these other things. So there
hmm
is this sense that like, this
yeah, there
is
was a
there's like baby's life, but there's also like the larger world
mhm.
happening and
and about
changing.
and all this stuff was about to happen, you know,
Yeah.
in sort of rapid succession. So,
Right, right. So I do think that there is something to like
mm,
this change for one person being sort of representative and related to like societal change. I think that that makes total sense, and I think they wouldn't have mentioned all that stuff at the beginning if it didn't like
well, kudos to the writer
relate.
for you know expanding on that and
Hmm.
bringing that out. So yeah, the whole I think the whole theme of the movie was like I said, it could be enjoyed on a lot of levels. You
Hmm.
know,
Hmm.
a younger person like maybe you were when you first saw it. Oh,
Hmm.
it's a fun movie, the dancing and stuff. And as we
Hmm.
get older, we see you know a little more depth into it.
Yeah, yeah. And I have to imagine, I'm still thinking on that note that like, Eleanor Bergstein is like reflecting back when she
Hmm
writes this. So like she's reflecting back with like hindsight 2020, right? So she's lived through all that other stuff and taking it back to when she was like 18 before that
Yeah,
happened. So
yeah,
I think it has to be tied in because how can you like you can't look back on that without like, when you rewind to 18, you have to rewind past all of that stuff,
true. Yeah,
right? And
you
as an
can't just
adult, you
gloss
can't,
over that.
right? You can't like take that out of your brain, like that
Yeah,
context. So I have to
yeah.
imagine that's a really good point. Yeah.
Well,
But yeah,
thank you.
I just
But
um, love Dirty
good
Dancing.
choice.
It's great. It's fun. You get a little bit of everything. There's some comedy, there's some dancing, there's some like good family relationships, some romance, some betrayal, and
And
abortion.
fabulous music.
Great music. Great music. I hope my
Yeah.
singing didn't ruin it for you.
Oh, not at all. Yeah,
Look
yeah,
up the soundtrack, everybody.
I was gonna
I
say
think it
one of the
was
better
like
soundtracks,
mhm,
along with Saturday Night Fever.
mhm.
You know,
Yeah, it
um,
contributed to a revival of like a lot of these songs are from the 60s and they charted again when this movie came out. So
came
like
out.
for example, Do You Love Me
Oh yeah,
was
that became a mainstay on the
it
radio.
like peaked, it went up the charts when this movie
Mm-hmm.
came out
Mm-hmm.
because people were like, "Oh my God, I love that song." So yeah, it was re-released at the time and it became a hit again. Oh, the other piece that I didn't mention that we talked about before. So the choreographer of this movie is someone we've all also talked about on the podcast before. It was Kenny Ortega. So Kenny Ortega directed Hocus Pocus. He's directed a lot of Disney movies, like all the High School Musicals and the Descendants movies. But he choreographed in this movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Pretty in Pink, St. Elmo's Fire, Xanadu. He worked on a bunch of Michael Jackson's tours. He choreographed Madonna's Material Girl video,
Oh gosh.
Olivia Newton-John's Physical video. Another, I think, pretty iconic. Those are two, I think, like
Oh
pretty
yeah.
iconic music videos. Mr. Roboto by Styx. I don't know. I haven't like seen that video in a very long time. I don't recall like
I don't either. I
choreography.
don't recall it. I do know my better half does not care for the song whatsoever. So I don't know why, but
Yeah.
she, yeah.
He also choreographed in the movie To Wong Fu, Thanks for Everything, Julie Newmar, also starring Patrick Swayze. And he's choreographed for like very big events, Super Bowl 30, one of the Academy Awards, the 1996 Atlanta Olympics, the 2002 Salt Lake City Olympics. So, really prolific.
Kenny's knocking it. Oh, you said he's done something recently?
He's been doing the Descendants movies from Disney.
Oh, okay.
And he did like Michael Jackson's like This Is It tour. And well, he was doing the tour, but then obviously Michael Jackson died and then they made the movie, so he directed that movie.
Oh, okay.
But he worked with him on like all of his tours in the 90s.
Man, that's saying
Uh
something when you think about that. I mean,
right.
Michael Jackson, and he had him as his choreographer. That's pretty
Mhm.
cool. So,
Mhm. But yeah, Kenny Ortega, I just thought since
yo,
we've
yeah,
touched on him in the past and he's been involved in some of the other movies. And I think like obviously choreography is a big part of this movie in particular being about
sure.
dancing. So shout out to Kenny Ortega doing work, an iconic figure of at least like my lifetime of I mean even before I was born, but like I grew up obviously I picked Hocus Pocus, the High School Musical movies, like all of those like
Yeah. Well, you said they played a big part in your life,
mhm
in
mhm
your formative years and stuff. So,
yeah.
yeah.
So
So,
Kenny Ortega killing it.
yeah,
But yeah, anything else you want to say about Dirty Dancing?
that was a big, I can remember when it came out, it was a big, well, see, I was married then, but it was like a big date movie too.
Mhm.
It
I
was
have
like,
to imagine,
you
yeah.
took your wife, it was like, yeah, it was a romantic movie, it was,
Mhm.
sort of, I don't know if it kindled a spark in dancing or not at the time, but I do know that it's still referred to like when we were taking dance classes and stuff, they
Mhm.
would refer back to, oh, this is like the dance that, Patrick Swayze, and Jennifer Grey did and stuff. So that
Mhm.
sort of thing. So,
Yeah, and I feel like you see the lift referenced all the time. Like I
oh
remember,
my
do you
goodness.
remember the one year, a couple of years ago at the Super Bowl, there was a commercial of Eli Manning and like Odell Beckham Jr.
Yes.
dancing to the time of my life and they like do the
Yes.
lift and
Do
everything.
the,
So
yeah.
like it's iconic throughout like pop culture.
Oh, very much so. Yeah. And like you said, I think it's when you think of this movie, or if you see if you see that scene, you know what
Mhm.
this is from.
Right. You
Oh,
if
it's
you
Dirty
just see the
Dancing.
image of like him holding her up, like
Mm-hmm.
you know what
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, and I would also like to, yeah, say Patrick Swayze, who we lost way too young. So,
Mhm.
a
Mhm.
really, 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 I think a good career, and maybe a little underappreciated, for some of the roles he took. But I always liked his movies. I always thought he did a good job of, in relating to his characters and so on.
Yeah.
So,
I think that he showed a lot of versatility in his work, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
Like the last thing I'd seen him in, I think, was Donnie Darko, which is completely, and he's very serious and like
Mm.
it's very different than like any of the other movies. So,
Um, one last, I did read one last thing.
mhm,
Evidently, they are doing a new Dirty Dancing, and Jennifer Grey is reprising her role as Baby.
interesting.
It's in
So it's
production
like,
for this year. I believe is the last thing I read about it, and I
huh.
think it's as of yet untitled, but it is going to be. She's going to be portraying Baby, and
Oh
I guess
yeah, I see that on the Wikipedia.
Wikipedia page. Yeah, so I thought that was interesting, and so maybe something
Interesting.
that
It's
we
gonna
have
center
to look.
around dancing in the 90s.
Oh,
What is that? Are they voguing?
maybe, yeah. Well, and maybe a lot of salsa. There was, salsa started becoming popular
Oh,
around that
the
time.
so I guess baby's like a an adult and she's like a maybe a instructor, and
Oh,
then it's like
okay.
a
Went
there's a
on
new
to,
young person.
oh, okay. Well, that'll be interesting
Hip
to
hop.
see.
They're gonna break dance. They're gonna
There
put some
you go.
cardboard
Yeah,
down.
yeah. Uh-huh. There you go. So,
So we'll see. Oh, they've started filming. They started
okay.
filming last summer. So
Outstanding. So,
we'll have to look
so
out for it.
that's something to look forward to. So, well,
So
thanks for a great selection. So fun.
thank you very much. Thank you
Yeah.
very much. I will also just say I will just plug here. This is Lindsay's soapbox moment. So, these views, I'm not saying this reflects Jim's views. This is Lindsay's moment. As I mentioned, some of what Penny experiences is unfortunately what people are experiencing today in this country because of the way things are. What I would like to do to help combat that is there are like abortion funds in every state, and I support my local one. I have the Baltimore Abortion Fund. You can donate to them and help it so that people don't have to lie to their dads to get $250. It's actually way more expensive than $250 these days, but that's an option. So I'm just saying you can check out your local abortion fund or the national network of abortion funds and help support people that are maybe in a difficult situation. Just putting it out there.
Thank you. That's very well said. So,
Thank you. Well, thank you for listening. Please be sure to subscribe wherever you're listening to this so you can get all of our episodes delivered to you every Monday when we release them. Please rate, review, leave a comment. Hopefully, it's something nice, or we will put you in a corner. Follow us on Instagram at Some of Our Parts Pod. You can see all the movies that we've talked about. There are over 50 at this point. And you can also see little previews of what's to come and whatever else we decide to share there. And on that note, bye bye.
take care.
I've had the time of my life.